When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will.
Mr. Grush is quite clear that he's not saying it's necessarily extraterrestrial.
Non-human origin.
That he's not saying it's necessarily extraterrestrial.
Call it spacecraft if you will.
That he's not saying it's necessarily extraterrestrial.
Then what are you saying?
Oh, hey, little space monkey.
Non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will.
I got scrapings off Jim's wall, Jim's wall. 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 I got scrapings off Jim's wall, Jim's wall.
They get the views from the UFO fairy tales and UFO fairy tale huckstering.
Scrapings off Jim's wall.
They get the views from the UFO fairy tales and UFO fairy tale huckstering.
Scrapings off Jim's wall.
This UFO circle jerk. 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 This UFO circle jerk.
I got scrapings off Jim's wall, Jim's wall. I got scrapings off Jim's wall, Jim's wall. I got scrapings off Jim's wall, Jim's wall, Jim's wall, Jim's wall, Jim's wall.
This UFO circle jerk. 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 They get the views from the UFO fairy tales and UFO fairy tale huckstering.
Scrapings off Jim's wall.
They get the views from the UFO fairy tales and UFO fairy tale huckstering.
Scrapings off Jim's wall, 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 wall.
And can I just say, even though I'm not entirely comfortable at times with the way they sensationalize in their promos, because I thought the promos for our story were a tad over the top at times.
What you're seeing here is momentous.
You think that's alien technology?
Yes, I do.
I thought the promos for our story were a tad over the top.
We have new, conclusive proof.
Testable evidence of alien technology.
Tad over the top at times.
Is it possible to exceed the speed of light? The answer is yes.
The biggest discovery in human history.
Promos for our story were a tad over the top.
New evidence that has to be seen to be believed.
7 News Spotlight, Sunday on 7 and 7+.
Not entirely comfortable at times with the way they sensationalize in their promos, because I thought the promos for our story were a tad over the top at times. I probably would be more cautious about in terms of how we present it is the sphere story, for the simple fact that we just don't know yet whether it is or it isn't non-human technology.
We have new, conclusive proof.
Testable evidence of alien technology.
Frankly, whilst a lot of people want us to say, yeah, it's alien technology, we're not
going to say that. We have new, conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology. This renowned scientist confirms it all. Whilst a lot of people want us to say, yeah, it's alien technology, we're not going to say that because that's a terrible danger. We have new, conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology. A lot of people want us to say, yeah, it's alien technology. We're not going to say that. Alien technology. This renowned scientist confirms it all. We're not going to say that. New, conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology. This renowned scientist confirms it all. We're not going to say that for the simple fact that we just don't know yet whether it is or it isn't non-human technology.
Everybody watching this right now is looking at your face. Your face. Your face. Your face. We are not alone. There is an intelligent species engaging with this planet. So who is this guy really? I'm Ross Coulthart. There is a non-human species, and it's incredibly benevolently well disposed to the human race. Maybe he's just a confident, well-spoken, ex-military intelligence officer who just happens to have lost his mind. Do you have any kind of mental illness?
No.
Have you ever had a psychosis, a delusion?
No.
Is there anything in your medical history that might be capable of being interpreted as a reason why you might be confabulating, making things up? Do you have any kind of mental illness?
No.
Do you have any kind of mental illness?
No.
Do you have any kind of mental illness?
No.
Maybe he's just a confident, well-spoken, ex-military intelligence officer who just happens to have lost his mind.
What if some of that shit is so big? What if some of that shit is so big it can't be moved? Big, big, it can't be moved. Big, big. What if some of that shit is so big? What if some of that shit is so big it can't be moved? Big, big, it can't be moved. Big, 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 big. In a country outside of the United States of America. Big. In a country outside of the United States of America. In a country outside of the United States of America. Big. In a country outside of the United States of America. Big. 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 They're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. So big. They're too
bloody big. They're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. So big. They're too bloody big. They're too bloody big. I know exactly where it is. I know exactly where it is. But it was bollocks big, 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 big. But it was bollocks big, 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 big.
Truthseekers, seek of truth. A truth so bold it's hard to hold. Truthseekers, truthseekers, yeah. Face the cash, face the cash.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. It is another exciting edition of Truthseekers that we have to bring you tonight because apparently Ross Coulthart has been caught selling yet another completely and totally fake story. You may remember our previous coverage of some of the fake stories that Ross Coulthart, disgraced Australian journalist who went headlong into the UFO field for his next payday after peddling a completely and totally fake story about the British Parliament and child-related offenses related to those people, even naming names and accusing people of heinous crimes involving children in that original piece, a piece that Media Watch blasted as completely and totally deceptive and false. Shortly after that piece aired on 60 Minutes Australia, Mr. Coulthart's contract was not renewed with 60 Minutes. Now, he's claimed, and other of his supporters have claimed, no, there was budget cuts. I don't think it was a coincidence that Media Watch blasted Ross Coulthart's big British Parliament story as completely and totally fake, and then his contract doesn't get renewed. You know, these are the things that happens when a journalist becomes disgraced and people realize that they were hoodwinked by a man selling a completely and totally fake story. One of the reasons I'm so interested in his history of fake story peddling is because he is the principal profiteering promoter of the Dave Grush story on News Nation. And we have previously covered and detailed how News Nation is owned by Nexstar Media, who also owns George Knapp's television station in Las Vegas that pushes completely and totally fake stories and has some part to play in George Knapp's Mystery Wire, which pushes completely and totally fake stories like Batman balloons as alien spaceships. Nexstar Media also is involved, of course, with News Nation, which is filled with disgraced journalists like Chris Cuomo and Ross Coulthart. In fact, a lot of the people on News Nation kind of got fired or let go under, disgracing circumstances from real jobs. They end up at News Nation along with Ross Coulthart. It is what it is. Nexstar Media is cashing in on these UFO dollars. After the British Parliament completely and totally fake story, of course, Ross Coulthart writes a book and heavily pushes the highly contested, let's just call it that, the highly contested Wilson Davis notes, which detail a meeting between wackadoo wormhole scientist Eric Davis, who the Air Force called his research crackpot research at one point, a meeting between him and Admiral Tom Wilson, in which the Admiral apparently tells Eric Davis that he got sent on a mission to find the alien crash retrieval programs due to being given a completely and totally fake document by Dr. Stephen Greer in a meeting. as if an admiral wouldn't have a staff that could take one look at a completely and totally fake top secret document and tell this isn't a real document, Admiral. You might not want to go on a mission looking for alien crash retrieval programs based on a completely and totally fake document. Admiral Wilson, for his part in the story, has called those notes a complete and total work of fiction, saying, hey, maybe I met this guy Eric Davis, but none of this ever happened. This meeting didn't take place. I didn't go on this, scavenger hunt for aliens. This is a work of fiction. Ross Coulthart highly pushed that story, but we're not even really going to count that in his list of completely and totally fake stories, because there are other stories that are completely and totally fake that he sold that we can focus on. Like the time we played you the bumper in the beginning, one of his latest stories about UFOs and aliens before the Dave Grush story was with Gary Nolan. And it is my personal belief that Gary Nolan sells the credibility, his own credibility, and the credibility of Stanford University to UFO hucksters who sell completely and totally fake stories. He did that before with the Atacama humanoid story. He was paid for that. Wasn't an alien. Gee. And we have raised questions about Gary Nolan's use of Stanford University labs, equipment, and personnel, because according to the Stanford Code of Ethics that I found, he's not supposed to use Stanford University labs, equipment, or personnel to personally profit. We asked some questions. Is this a violation of the Stanford Code of Ethics? Because after all, in Ross Coulthart's piece, it was recorded, part of it, at Stanford University with Gary Nolan standing in front of a very expensive analytical machine. And they were going to get to the truth of Jim's balls. And in that story, they deceptively edited the promotional material to clickbait this garbage story that they had, quote, conclusive proof of alien technology, all confirmed by this renowned scientist. And in the promos, they cut to a shot of Michio Kaku. Michio Kaku didn't confirm anything. And in fact, not only did they not have conclusive proof of alien technology, they had absolutely no proof. So that's completely and totally fake story number 2. You can reach out to Michio Kaku. Was he in the documentary? Sure. Did he confirm conclusive proof of alien technology? Absolutely not. And I have heard people make excuses. Oh, it's not Ross Coulthart's fault. The producers and the marketing team did that. No. Ross Coulthart had to stand there in a vocal booth and record the audio saying those complete and total lies to promote that piece. If he's a man of such integrity, he would have said, wait, I'm not saying this. We don't have conclusive proof of alien technology. And Michio Kaku didn't confirm any of this. All Michio Kaku did in that crap documentary is the same thing Michio Kaku always does when somebody hires him to be in a documentary or a piece about aliens, a television show, whatever. He talked about theoretical physics. How could they get here from vast distances? Oh, maybe wormholes. Maybe they figured out faster than light travel. He didn't confirm anything. The story was completely and totally fake. And now, friends, we have another completely and totally fake story that he pushed, promoted, and is profiting from, not just with monetized views. We're going to go over that. He is also profiting from a completely and totally fake story now. And he is speaking about that completely and totally fake story while people are, I'm assuming, paying him some very high speaking fees to be speakers at public events about aliens and UFOs. He told the story of this patch, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful story. It's just an absolutely wonderful story, but there's one problem. The whole story falls apart. Under the least little tiny bit of scrutiny, the entire story falls apart. Essentially, somebody was selling a patch on eBay claiming that it was from an Area 51 crash retrieval program. Top secret, don't you know? And they made various claims in the eBay ads to sell this patch that Ross Coulthart is citing as his only evidence was a patch from eBay. And a story, of course. But the problem is that the eBay seller used multiple stories to try to sell the patch. In one version of the story, the patch belonged to his uncle, who was part of that Area 51 crash retrieval and alien back engineering program at Area 51. In another version of an eBay auction trying to sell the patch, he claimed he was the guy that was in that program. And these are things that Ross Coulthart could have easily found had he done 5 minutes of research before rushing to sell yet another fake story. Completely and totally fake story. Busted again. Third time's the charm, right? Is it 3 strikes you're out? Is he done now in the world of UFOs? Can he go away now, right? Or is he going to come up with more fake stories as this Dave Grush story completely falls apart due to lack of any available evidence that there's no evidence. They're not making any evidence public. Just trust me, dude. And listen, if Ross Coulthart were a Walter Cronkite type who you truly can trust is telling you the truth based on a track record of accurate reporting, I would forgive him. And I would trust him when he tells me Dave Grush has all this evidence. But this man keeps getting caught playing fast and loose with the facts and using literal mental cases to sell his stories. He's done this multiple times now. I don't trust the trust me dude. Oh, we really do have evidence. You may also know. So there's the 3 completely and totally fake stories. We may add to that the Wilson Davis notes, which, have never been proven. Years now, people have been, debating those. And I don't want to get in a debate about those, but I do have an excellent piece from Lou Jimenez from Lou Reviews that we once played here before. Maybe we'll play it again tonight if there's time, about how fake those things are and how ridiculous that story is. Ross Coulthart pushed that. And of course, there's also Ross Coulthart pushing the story of his fantastical claims that he knows exactly, friends, where a giant alien spaceship is, but he can't tell us because it's top secret. Again, this man has been caught selling 100% provably fake stories time and time and time again. You can't trust what he is telling you is accurate, period. I don't trust a word that comes out of this man's mouth. And if you ask me, neither should you. You should demand evidence for his incredible claims. Now, friends, before we get into tonight's presentation, we're going to go through the history of his fake stories. We'll begin with the complete and totally fake British Parliament story and some thoughts from Media Watch. Then we'll detail a little more details about that Jim's Balls story that turns out to be completely and totally fake. By the way, Gary Nolan, who promised to do the analysis of that, I think Gary Nolan backed off when we started asking ethics questions about using university labs and equipment. And then he decided he couldn't do the analysis of Jim's Balls at Stanford University because he took money to be in that documentary, and he may not be allowed to do that according to the Stanford Code of Ethics. And by the way, I asked Mr. Gary Nolan directly some very respectful questions about that Code of Ethics and whether he was allowed to do that by the university profit from, because according to Code of Ethics, he can't, but he refused to answer my questions, saying that he's not going to give me fuel for me to create conspiracy theories about him. And you may remember Gary Nolan standing on a stage talking up that aliens are real and here, and 100% to a group of investors recently. Gary Nolan is also, by the way, Dave Grush's boss, and we got that revelation recently. So it's a big club, friends, but I ain't in it. And while all the other UFO shows and shows that cover these topics have to play nice with the grifters to maintain their access, we don't play those games. Ross Coulthart's not going to give an interview to me. Neither will Gary Nolan, because they will fall apart under real and serious questioning by a real researcher or investigative journalist like me. They would never submit themselves to that because the entire narratives that they sell will fall apart like the house of cards they're built on under questions from somebody like me. They're not going to do it. They would never do it. So therefore, I have no responsibility to be nice to the Grit Squad. None. I have nothing to worry about. I have nothing to lose, to tell you the truth. Now, other shows that interview these clowns and do the circle jerk, oh, tell us more about the giant alien spaceship, Ross Coulthart, right? Their whole shows are based on getting access to the top tier UFO celebrity clowns who are pushing these UFO fairy tales. So they have to play nice. They have to lie to you. We don't, and we won't. But before we get into tonight's presentation, I wanted to take a moment to announce once again that Truthseekers is now on pilled.net, which is a free speech network and it's a whole new thing that is a combination of a social network, a YouTube, a Twitter, a Facebook, Discord chat, group chats, all together in one place, a place that values the values of free speech. It's a censorship-free platform. I have been using it for about a week now, and I got to tell you that I'm starting to enjoy it. It even has old school RSS feeds of all things, which I was kind of happy to see. Pilled.net is our new distribution partner. And while we are streaming on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter and Facebook and Rumble, we are also live streaming on Pilled right now live. We want to take a moment to thank their founders, especially the two founders created this thing. They have been coding it since 2018. These guys have worked incredibly hard to build this thing, and I think that work shows. I highly encourage you to check it out. Just go to www.pill.net, and when you do, it's going to ask who referred you. Put my name in there. I want our new distribution partners to know that I'm sending them users, and I appreciate them hosting our show, being so welcoming. They really rolled out the red carpet for us here, gave me unlimited space on the platform. I can upload all 1,000+ episodes of our entire back catalog of shows. We're going to start doing that. Today we put our free documentary, Is This the Face of Bigfoot, there. For content creators, once they turn on the switch for you to be a content creator, and by the way, I can help you with that. Contact me off air. Be sure to put my name, Steve Cambion, in the referral, and I can help you expedite them turning that switch on. But once you are a content creator there and can live stream there, you are instantly monetized. There's subscriptions. People can throw money at you. You can instantly make money turning a big interest of or hobby of yours or passion of yours into an income stream. We've only been on a few days. We've only been broadcasting there for a few days. I'm already making money there. Praise the cash, bitches. Praise the cash. We're praising the cash on pill.net, and you can too. Here to tell you a little bit about that is a video from pill.net. Before we begin our presentation, this is a very quick video, just give you an introduction about pill.net.
Welcome to pill.net. We aren't just another social media platform. We are the home of free speech. Pill.net offers people a place to share their thoughts, ideas, and content without the threat of censorship. With live streaming, uploaded content, social media posting, and more, Pill.net goes the extra mile by introducing innovative features like mobile push notifications that keep you connected without relying on big tech app stores. These notifications allow creators to instantly alert their audience when they're live or have posted new content, ensuring that your message reaches the right audience at the right time. Plus, with monetization available from day one, you can turn your passion into earnings right from the get-go. Donations and subscription options make it easier than ever to earn income with your content. And it doesn't stop there. Pill.net is constantly evolving to meet your needs. Our updated direct messaging system makes it easier than ever for content creators to engage with people privately. Anyone can also go start their own group chats with friends. Pill.net is more than just a platform. It's a lively community where everyone's voice counts. Make your account today and let our team welcome you to Pill.net. Free speech lives here.
Free speech lives there. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting more and more increasingly concerned with the increased censorship and problems with some of the other, let's just call them major platforms. So far, my experience there, both as a user and a content creator, have been great. Highly recommend you check them out. Now, first thing we're going to do is detail the previous fake stories. I think the worst one really was the British Parliament story, because Ross Coulthart named names in that piece and accused people of literal crimes with children. And then it turns out that his source was a complete and total tall tale telling wackadoo who lied about everything and then sued a bunch of people to get money. It's really despicable to accuse somebody of child-related crimes. Did he ever apologize to those people and their families? You know, they're human. They have families. You went on a national, huge television show, and he called it the biggest British scandal ever and all these things, and overhype, over-sensationalize. We've talked about this before. Ross Coulthart overhypes and over-sensationalize things. And then he underdelivers when it comes to evidence, and then we inevitably get to the big letdown. History matters, and he has repeated that wheel of bullshittery multiple times. This is not the first time he's been caught selling a completely and totally fake story. So when people ask me, why are you so skeptical of this Dave Grush story? Well, look at the main guy selling it and how many times he has sold completely and totally fake stories, claimed all kinds of evidence, and then the story turns out to be completely and totally fake. This is a pattern with him. And, you know, people repeat patterns. And a leopard does not change its spots, though I don't really like that saying. So we're going to get into this tonight, friends. We want to take a moment to welcome the live chat. Great attendance tonight, and glad to see so many people. We want to welcome all of you live chatters in the Rumble live chat, in the Twitch live chat, over there on Facebook Live, Twitter, and of course YouTube, and now pilled.net. And you Twitch chatters as well. We see all of you. And we thank you all for joining us. We're going to get into this history of Ross Coulthart selling complete and total fake stories. And I apologize. I tried to find the Media Watch video and story again, and I had trouble. So I'm going to play you some of my previous coverage of the first completely and totally fake story that he was caught in selling. I think this is really the story that made him a disgraced journalist. And it's interesting. I've talked to many people from Australia who told me, I don't understand why anybody in the United States would listen to him, because everybody in Australia knows that he's a disgraced journalist. However, recently some people have contacted me and disagreed with the fact that all Australians know that he's a disgraced journalist. So, you know, I apologize. And also, before we begin tonight, just a correction or a point of information. On last night's broadcast, I said that I truly believe that Dave Grush was the source of Jeremy Corbell's Mosul orb image. Remember that image that was taken from a classified briefing, or from a video from a classified briefing? Because the very day they met David Grush, they hyped up that story and started over sensationalizing this big drop coming of this Mosul orb image. Someone pointed out correctly, and I should have myself, that on the same day they met with Grush, Jay Stratton and Travis Taylor were also there. So it could have been any of the three of them. All would have had access to that image from the classified briefing, given they all worked for the UAP task force. So we acknowledge and accept that I could be wrong. And maybe Grush didn't give that to Corbell and Knapp. Maybe it was Travis Taylor or Jay Stratton. Just a point of information. I am not, 100%. I didn't say I was 100% certain that Grush gave it to them. It's just a feeling that I get. Call it a hunch. Because shortly after meeting with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, suddenly Grush was under investigation for sharing things with people he shouldn't be sharing things with. So it doesn't take a huge leap of faith to think that David Grush may have been the source of the Mosul orb image for George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell to profit from. And that's what got him in hot water. All right, we're going to begin our coverage. This is Ross Coulthart's British Parliament fake story. And I'll put my fair use banner up here. 1 second. Let me make sure that we have our fair use banner up. This is a transformative work. We're educating the public and critiquing the video that we are sharing. We are educating the public about Ross Coulthart and his horrendous record of selling completely and totally fake stories. Let's get into it, friends. Tonight, we're going to find out, I think, why he went head first into the UFO and alien stuff. I believe it's because he was forced to, because poor Ross Coulthart got caught selling a provably fake story. But it's very disturbing what he did. Essentially, he accused a whole bunch of people in England of, let's just say, because they're going to say it in the video a bunch of times, he accused a bunch of people of having problems with children. Sexual problems with children. He accused all kinds of government people in England in his 60 Minutes Australia report. And it turns out it's garbage. The whole story fell apart after it was broadcast. Completely and totally fell apart as being mostly provably fake, using incredibly questionable sources. And let's just say information provided to Ross Coulthart by people that no real journalist would use. For example, if you have a person telling you fantastical things that has a history of mental illness, you probably should be very cautious with using that person or depending on that person for making accusations, serious accusations and allegations against high-ranking government officials in England. But we're going to get into it. So essentially what happens is Ross Coulthart got caught terribly pushing a provably fake, scandalous story, claiming that it was going to be the biggest political scandal in the history of England. Does this sound familiar to you? Because it sounds familiar to me. You remember we did a story called Ross Coulthart's Big Bluff, and that was about his alien big bluff, where he promised conclusive proof of alien technology. But it turns out that wasn't his first bluff. He did an even bigger bluff, and all he had to do to sell that scandalous story and get huge ratings is claim a whole bunch of dudes in England were pedos and they were doing terrible sex type things to little kids. And all he had to do was play along with terribly problematic sources. And this story, like his alien big bluff, was a huge bluff. Turns out that most of what he reported is completely factually incorrect and provably false. But we're going to get into that because an organization, it was so bad that Media Watch got on Ross Coulthart's butt and 60 Minutes Australia butt. For those that don't know, Media Watch does great work. They sort of report on the fakers and fraudsters in the journalism world, much like we do report on the fakers and fraudsters in the UFO alien world. They do a great job. And it's a short video, but we're going to put up our fair use banner and we're going to cite fair use here. And we will find out exactly why Ross Coulthart was fired from CBS Australia. Oh, to be clear, language is important. I said that he got fired. That may be not factually accurate. His contract was not renewed shortly after Media Watch showed everybody how fake this big bluff pedo story he did was. So this is a transformative work, by the way. We are going to cite fair use. We'll be playing a portion of this video from Media Watch. 1 second here, friends. We'll get it. I've got it. All right.
But now, let's take a trip down memory lane to examine this 60 Minutes special investigation from July 2015.
Britain's biggest ever scandal is about to explode.
In late 2014, a man known only as Nick sparked an ill-fated investigation by London's Metropolitan Police into claims of torture, child abuse and murder by high-ranking British politicians.
They and I believe what Nick is saying is to be credible and to be true.
The police investigation later fell apart. No charges were ever brought. And then, earlier this month, came this news.
Nick nicked. A man who falsely claimed he had been raped and tortured as a boy by a VIP pedophile ring is to face trial for child sex offences. Allegations by Nick against bigwigs Sir Ted Heath, Leon Britton, Harvey Proctor and Lord Bramall sparked a £3 million witch hunt by police.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Ross Coulthart uses this source, and he's claiming all kinds of, he was abused by all these high-ranking British officials, and he witnessed murders and all of this stuff. First, the police investigation falls apart. They find nothing like he described could be established or proven as real. And then he himself gets busted for sex offenses with minors. Great. What incredible vetting skills Mr. Ross Coulthart has.
Even more significantly, Nick may also face charges of fraud and perversion of the course of justice.
Prosecutors are considering whether he should be charged for allegedly lying about being abused as a child and then fraudulently claiming compensation for the ordeal.
So, what's that to us?
So, this person falsely accused a whole bunch of people of heinous sexual crimes against him as a child. And then he sued everybody and got paid all kinds of money. And then everybody found out that the allegations were all false.
Well, without Nick, Australia might never have been treated to that 60 Minutes special investigation, in which the programme's then new star, 5-time Walkley Award winner Ross Coulthart, made this extravagant promise.
Without question, the biggest political scandal Britain has ever faced will be exposed tonight. It involves a secret network of the highest office holders in the land, past and current members of parliament, cabinet ministers, judges, diplomats, even one of the country's top spies. These men are accused of some of the most sadistic child sexual abuse imaginable on hundreds of victims, some as young as 8.
Nick was not interviewed on 60 Minutes, but...
Yeah, and this is where it gets great. So Ross Coulthart just said all of that based on a totally garbage source that was out for profit. He was out for money and would later be charged with an offense himself against children. Interesting. And this, again, has parallels to Ross Coulthart's big alien bluff. Ross Coulthart learned through this story that he could just say anything, not back it up, and he would get huge ratings for it, and he would just deal with the consequences later. And one might ask themselves, why would you accuse, and by the way, they named people in this report. They named a whole bunch of people in England as being, let's just say, problems with children. I'm trying to avoid saying the P word as much as possible because they say it in this video a bunch of times. Apparently, the YouTube algo does not like that. So this is what we get. We get, as if I needed more confirmation that Ross Coulthart was a garbage peddler. Before he was peddling garbage UFO and alien stories, he was peddling this.
His evidence provided vital support for that remarkable claim. Tonight, we're going to examine that 60 Minutes story, which reported astonishing allegations with very little skepticism or doubt. The 60 Minutes report was built on a number of witnesses whose evidence is now disputed or discredited. In addition, the investigative website Exaro News, on whose work 60 Minutes relied, was severely criticised and then shut down. And Exaro's editor-in-chief, Mark Watts, who made similar claims to Coulthart on Russia Today, lost his job.
This is undoubtedly the biggest political scandal in post-war Britain.
Watts and Exaro claim to have arranged 60 Minutes key interviews, one of whom is known only as Darren, who told 60 Minutes that, like Nick, he'd been abused in an apartment in London's Dolphin Square by VIPs, including one of Britain's best-known politicians.
One of the most powerful.
So the other person that was hyping this 100% fake story gets fired for hyping this story. And, you know, at some point, I think a journalist should be fired for doing something like this. You're going to name names and claim that people were doing horrible, terrible, disgusting, reprehensible things to children without sufficient evidence or proof to back up your claims, and then the claims themselves all fall apart shortly after you broadcast this salacious, scandalous piece that's sure to get huge views, right? And it makes me sad. Is that what we're, you know, is that the goal of a journalist? Well, just do whatever you have to do and get the huge monster views and then deal with the fallout later. The other guy who was hyping this story got fired.
All men in the land, Leon Britton should have been prosecuting pedophiles. Instead, according to Darren and other witnesses, he was one of them.
He likes boys to dress in women's underwear and then to be in a room alone and discover you in women's underwear and punish you for wearing the underwear.
A member of Margaret Thatcher's cabinet.
Yes.
Raping children.
Yes.
So, how credible were Darren's allegations? Well, it turned out they weren't. The police investigation into Dolphin Square, Operation Midland, whose lead officer had called Nick's claims credible and true, collapsed in March 2016 without bringing charges. An official inquiry then found police had made 43 errors and fallen for false claims of abuse.
Yeah, so they literally named someone in this report Ross Coulthart did as being a perpetrator of this. Great. I hope that he sued the balls off of News 7 and Ross Coulthart. I really hope that he did. And there's some mention that his wife got some sort of a settlement, I think, but after he died.
Following year, the Met paid £100,000 compensation to Leon Britton's widow. But Darren's credibility was demolished long before that by this Telegraph report published 2 months after 60 Minutes went to air. And by this BBC Panorama programme a month later, which investigated Darren's past and reported...
He was convicted in the 1990s of making bomb hoaxes, and he's also falsely confessed to murder and rape. 2 years ago, he sent an email to a social worker saying, "Leon Britton never abused me or anyone I know. So why name the poor man?"
And these are things that a real or credible, especially investigative journalist, would have been able to find. So what happened here? Did Ross Coulthart not vet the person making these absolutely scandalous claims? I mean, these are very serious allegations. He just let that person on the show and just let him say these things. He didn't look into his background. And if he did, he would have found out that that was an incredibly problematic person to be accepting very, very serious allegations from just on face value with no evidence, proof, or backup of his claims.
More to the point, why rely on Darren's evidence? 60 Minutes would argue it could not have known about his history, but there were alarm bells ringing. In June 2015, for example, in the week that 60 Minutes interviewed him, it was evident from Darren's own tweets on an account set up for him by Exaro that he thought police did not believe him.
No one is actually investigating allegations of torture and abuse at Dolphin Square. Police think I'm lying still, it's clear. I've never actually been told by anyone in the police the words, "I believe you."
And a little bit of digging by 60 Minutes or Exaro might also have revealed that police and social services had apparently branded Darren as mentally ill.
Yeah, so this person is branded as mentally ill. And again, the level of irresponsibility here on the part of Ross Coulthart is absolutely despicable, in my opinion. Like, you're going to let somebody sit there and make these claims and you didn't even look into their background? Because if you did, you would have found out that this person had been labeled as mentally ill.
He falsely declared me as suffering from a delusional, paranoid mental health disorder. I'm still waiting for an apology from the police and from social services for falsely declaring me as mentally ill.
Other tweets by Darren in early 2015 might also have raised the alarm.
I am just so terrified of all police now, after witnessing one kill a girl in an abuse ritual as a child.
Yeah, and that's something I would call a red flag. If I was going to use this person as a source making these kind of allegations, and I saw he tweeted this, I would cut and run from that person, despite all the rest of the things that Ross Coulthart could have done to vet the source. He didn't vet anything. Just, oh, it sounds great. This will get a lot of views. Sit on in here. Come on in. Tell your stories. Sound familiar? A lot like what he's doing now, right?
And there was more. 5 months before 60 Minutes went to air, Darren made the extraordinary claim to Exaro that he had helped a VIP pedophile torture and kill a boy with Down syndrome by tying him to two vehicles and driving them apart. But, setting aside warnings that 60 Minutes might have noticed, Ross Coulthart promised at the end of his report,
"We'll be sure to keep you updated on the progress of the police investigation."
Yet in 2.5 years, they have not done so.
Yeah, and isn't it great? This over-promising and under-delivering. Oh, we'll keep you informed of the ongoing investigation. And then they never did anything because the whole story fell apart right after broadcast, right? The entire story fell apart. This is just like his big alien bluff, you know, where he told everybody we have conclusive proof of alien technology. And now everybody's like, well, where's the proof? Where's the analysis? Excuses. By the way, Gary Nolan gave a whole bunch of excuses on Chrissy Newton's Circle Jerk show when she interviewed him. And we're going to cover that tomorrow night because I love watching these UFO grifters squirm. And boy, did Gary Nolan squirm when he was getting the circle jerk from Chrissy Newton. All right.
Even though Operation Midland collapsed, no charges were laid, compensation was paid to Lady Britain, and in 2017, Darren was charged with making false statements to the police that he'd been shot at, charges which were later dropped. And even though 60 Minutes had promised...
Without question, the biggest political scandal Britain has ever faced will be exposed tonight.
But the concerns did not stop there. The second key witness of 60 Minutes was Richard Kerr, another alleged victim of the VIP pedophile ring.
Today, Richard Kerr is bringing us back to the place where he was taken to meet the men who ruled the country.
Yeah, and here we're going to see Ross Coulthart purposefully manipulating the story to make the story better. Does that sound familiar too? Kind of like lying and claiming Michio Kaku is going to confirm conclusive proof of alien technology, right? He manipulates the stories to make them more salacious, more controversial, more clickbaity. That's the only word I could think of, so that they sell.
So how do his claims stack up today? Well, there's no doubt Kerr was sexually abused as a child, but there are doubts about his story in relation to Dolphin Square, especially as told by 60 Minutes.
Richard was brought here to have sex with politicians and other high-ranking members of the British establishment, including members of the House of Lords.
Are any of them still in the Parliament?
Yeah. Older, very old. Lords.
In reconstructing his story, 60 Minutes placed a young Kerr in the back of a chauffeur-driven Bentley and hired a boy who looked 10 or 11 years old to play his part. But only 3 months earlier, Kerr had told Britain's Channel 4 News in relation to his age.
I could have been 16, 15, 17.
So why did 60 Minutes mislead its audience by portraying him as so much younger? And how credible was Kerr's evidence on Dolphin Square? Last year, Kerr's time at Kincora Boys' Home in Belfast was examined by Northern Ireland's Historical Institutional Abuse Inquiry, which concluded
there is no evidence to support his claim that he was trafficked to London aged 17.
Yeah, so
the inquiry also noted...
So Ross Coulthart, in order to sell the story and make it more shocking, they get an actor that looks like he's 9 or 10 years old to play him, you know, getting driven to the abusers, when he clearly stated he was 16 or 17 when the so-called abuse or alleged abuse took place. This is purposeful manipulation. He's manipulating the story and using, hey, deceptive practices to make the story better. Does this sound familiar? It sounds very familiar to me because we've seen this in his Alien Big Bluff story. We've seen this already from Ross Coulthart. This is how he manipulates the audience.
In relation to several other claims that Kerr had made.
Having carefully examined all the material available to us, we are satisfied that his more recent accounts are not to be relied upon.
Kerr hotly disputes that verdict on his credibility, as does 60 Minutes. But it's worth noting that in an affidavit sworn in relation to the inquiry in February 2015, 4 months before his 60 Minutes interview, Kerr made no mention of Dolphin Square. So, how reasonable was it at the time to treat Richard and Darren's claims as fact rather than allegations that needed to be tested? Back in 2014, when the VIP pedophile ring story first came to light and Operation Midland began, an acclaimed UK legal blogger, Matthew Scott, commented,
Nick's allegations about a pedophile and murder ring in high places, if true, are both astonishing and horrific. Aside perhaps from the mad court of dictators like Mao or Ceausescu, it is impossible to think of any modern precedent for such a thing. It would mean that for year after year, senior politicians and other public figures cast aside morality, threw caution to the winds, and, aided and abetted by others, including a doctor, kept a group of teenage and younger boys as their sexual playthings, confident in the belief that nobody would expose them. For some reason, some of them also chose to murder 2 or 3 of these boys in front of witnesses.
Yeah, and so, you know, it's so unlikely that this is true that you would think as a journalist, you would want to cover your bases. You would want to be sure that you had overwhelming evidence that this is true, because these are absolutely fantastical claims. But not only did Ross Coulthart not have overwhelming evidence that all these allegations were true, he had almost no evidence, the word of a few nutters, right? So it's like a carefully constructed fake story, a lot like he's doing now with his carefully constructed fake alien stories.
The reasons to doubt the existence of such a ring are legion.
They were indeed, yet little or no doubt was expressed by 60 Minutes or Ross Coulthart, who told one British MP, Zach Goldsmith,
if it's true, and the evidence suggests that it is, this is, isn't it, the biggest political scandal in British history?
I think that's right.
But the lurid allegations of murder, rape and torture by a VIP pedophile ring were not true, or at least police found no evidence to support them, and there was no scandal. So, what do 60 Minutes and Ross Coulthart have to say?
Yeah, and of course, remember, it's important that we remember, friends, that in the Alien Big Bluff, he blamed News 7, right? He did not take responsibility for literally lying to audiences to get them to click on his garbage peddled stories, right? He literally lied. And then when called out ever on this situation, he blamed them. He blamed News 7. They're the ones who did the promos, right? And oh yeah, those promos were a little sensational. And I call bull on that, because he had to record a voiceover saying all those lies. It's very simple. When they hand him the copy, and he reads it and realizes this is all lies, we don't have conclusive proof of anything, then a real moral and ethical person would have simply refused to read that and be used to lie to people. But he didn't. He read the copy that now he's going to claim somebody else wrote for him. I think that he did all of that. I think he wrote the promo. I think he sat there directing the promo to be that deceptive. And I'm entitled to speculation and informed opinion because look at his history here. This is what he does. He manipulates people, places, events, information sources, careful editing, right? And the lie by omission, right? Like, oh, this person says that high-ranking English officials, right? Even up to including members of Margaret Thatcher's cabinet were involved in this child-related ring, right? We have proof. This guy says it, and you just leave out the part that would seem to indicate that the person you're using for a source is a total nutter, liar, grifter, problematic source, right? Same thing, same MO. And apparently Ross Coulthart has not learned his lesson because he literally gets fired, gets his contract not reviewed. By the way, that happened just a few weeks after this Media Watch report came out about how fake that story was. So whose fault was that story? Was it 60 Minutes Australia, or was all of the responsibility for that completely fake, nonsensical, scandalous story here, was that the fault of Ross Coulthart? They fired him. Didn't renew his contract. It was his fault. He stood there on a camera, right? And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't stand there on a camera on a show that's going to be watched by millions and millions and millions of people if I wasn't damn sure about all those allegations and damn sure that this story I'm telling, this absolutely fantasy land story, is true. He didn't do that. So who can he blame for this one? He blamed News 7 for the alien bluff, right? For those promos being so sensational. He blamed them. Does he blame 60 Minutes Australia for this story being completely and totally fake, made up, deceptive, and manipulated to sell it? Does he blame 60 Minutes Australia? Or does he take responsibility for doing a piss poor job? There are high school newspaper writers that could have done a better job on a story than him. You don't accept absolutely fantastical claims like this and make absolutely reprehensible allegations against members of the public unless you have overwhelming evidence. And he didn't.
All right, friends. So there we have the first and some would say probably worst or best fake story. It depends on your point of view. And so the next story, of course, we could get into the Wilson Davis notes, and maybe we will if we have time. The next really completely and totally 100% fake story came in the form of his pumping up Jim's balls and claiming that he had conclusive proof of alien technology, all confirmed by this renowned scientist, Michio Kaku. Turns out he didn't have any of that. And by the way, I always forget to do this. I want to thank Stephen Greenstreet, because I had a copy of the promo, but Stephen Greenstreet also had a copy of the promo, and he put Gonzo with the balloons in his version, and we've been using that. So I just want to thank Stephen Greenstreet and credit him for putting that in there, because I think it makes the whole ridiculous story of conclusive proof of alien technology, all confirmed by this man, to be much, much better. That one we can go over quickly. Ross Coulthart claimed in a clickbait garbage documentary piece for News 7 Australia that they had, quote, conclusive proof of alien technology, all confirmed by this renowned scientist. And then they cut to a shot of Michio Kaku. It was completely and totally a false story. Not only did they not have conclusive proof of alien technology, they had no proof of alien technology. Also, you may notice in the promos that they show what's called a festival balloon. I want to take a moment to recognize what a festival balloon is. And if you've ever spent a good deal of time in Mexico or South America, you may be familiar with a festival balloon. It's a big balloon. They have them at festivals in Mexico and South America. And it is not alien technology. It's nothing alien. It's a festival balloon. And also included in that promo was a shot of a known and proven festival balloon that they're saying is alien technology. Completely and totally deceptive editing. Let's take a look at this one more time. This man, Ross Coulthart, promised everyone, click on my documentary, my garbage documentary. We've got, quote, conclusive proof of alien technology, all confirmed by this man. And then they cut to a shot of Michio Kaku. Go ask Michio Kaku, what was the alien technology that he confirmed? He didn't confirm shit. There was no alien technology. There was no proof. And there certainly wasn't any conclusive proof. We're still waiting for the Jim's balls analysis, right? Here we go.
I probably would be more cautious about in terms of how we present it is the sphere story, for the simple fact that we just don't know yet whether it is or it isn't non-human technology.
We have new conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology.
Frankly, whilst a lot of people want us to say, yeah, it's alien technology, we're not going to say that.
We have new conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology. This renowned scientist confirms it all.
Whilst a lot of people want us to say, yeah, it's alien technology, we're not going to say that because that's a terrible danger.
We have new conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology.
A lot of people want us to say, yeah, it's alien technology. We're not going to say that.
Alien technology. This renowned scientist confirms it all.
We're not going.
This renowned scientist confirms it all. Conclusive proof of alien technology. And to borrow from Stephen Greenstreet yet again, there is no evidence. There's none. They had no evidence whatsoever. And in fact, the fallout, I think, from that story was pretty intense. And people were demanding that Ross Coulthart and Gary Nolan, who was the other scientist, who was the one who really promised he would do the analysis of Jim's balls. You remember Jim's balls. They took scrapings off of this metal ball, which I think is a ball bearing. By the way, I had a roommate that worked for a company called Messenger Bearings. They made ball bearings the size of rooms. And I recognized that metal ball right away as an industrial ball bearing. Yeah, they make them that big and even the size of rooms. But they took scrapings off of Jim's balls. And Gary Nolan was supposed to use Stanford University labs, equipment, and personnel, I suppose, to do an analysis on Jim's balls and provide the conclusive proof of alien technology. From the scraping, you remember they scraped Jim's balls.
I got scrapings off Jim's balls. I got scrapings off Jim's balls. I got scrapings off Jim's balls.
I got scrapings off Jim's balls.
Scrapings off of Jim's balls. And it's been more than a year since that story first aired. Initially, when people realized that it was all one big, huge bluff. By the way, you can go to our archives if you want more details on that story. Just put in the search bar "Big Bluff" and you'll see the story we did, Ross Coulthart's Big Bluff, conclusive proof of alien technology. So after the Big Bluff, many people were upset and started asking Ross Coulthart and Gary Nolan, who was supposed to do the analysis with Stanford University labs and equipment, which may be against Stanford University Code of Ethics. I don't know. We asked. He won't answer the question. We never followed up. We tried to follow up with the school. Couldn't get anybody to give me an on-the-record comment about whether or not Mr. Nolan's use of university labs and equipment in that documentary was against the Code of Ethics, or him doing the analysis or profiting from being in a completely and totally fake story. And by the way, I can't imagine that a prestigious university like Stanford is just okay with one of their professors selling the credibility of their university and using their labs to help UFO grifters sell completely and totally provably fake stories about aliens. But here we are. I don't care about Gary Nolan's accomplishments. I get it. The guy's an immunologist. Apparently he's written a lot of science papers. Good for him. But when it comes to the analysis of Jim's balls, boy, did he get pissed when people started demanding that he do the analysis. And where's the analysis? And you said you had conclusive proof of alien technology. You don't have anything. He got really pissed on a podcast and he went full Joker mode. Watch, friends.
They come to me with some of their results, and I basically said these results are shit. So I'm sorry to the people who are so friggin' impatient that they won't get off their butt and go learn the stuff and do it themselves. I'm not your daddy. I'm not here to do things for you. I'm sorry. Get out of your basement and go do something. I've seen some of those snap your fingers reports and they're garbage. Publish the darn paper. Stop claiming that. This is shoddy work. This can't go anywhere. Who did this? It's crap.
He really did go full Joker mode. Gary Nolan reacts like a lot of people. When you confront them that they're living in a delusional fairy tale land, they get angry. And Gary Nolan perfectly went in full Joker mode when people started demanding, where's the evidence of Jim's balls being alien technology? Jim's balls. Never forget Jim's balls, friends. So I think we've sufficiently covered his first two completely and totally fake stories. This, of course, leads us to the latest completely and totally fake story that Ross Coulthart was just caught selling. If you'll give me a moment, I'm going to cue this up. It's right around the 8-minute mark. There we go. I have this queued up, and we are going to listen to the story that Ross Coulthart is selling, and then I'm going to show you the evidence that the whole story is a complete and total fabrication, a falsehood. And by the way, any good or decent investigative journalist could have found the evidence and proof that this latest story, we're just going to call it Patchgate, because it's all based on a patch that Ross Coulthart said came from a secret Area 51 back engineering aliens program. No, it didn't. And we have the smoking gun evidence and proof that no, it didn't. And his only source for this was some guy who was telling stories about that patch on eBay to make money. And Ross Coulthart didn't do the least little bit of research into that patch. Instead, what Ross Coulthart did is make a monetized video repeating a completely and totally fake story. Some person took some umbrage, right? And objected to me saying that Ross Coulthart sold this fake story, because what they said was, well, he was just repeating a story somebody told him. Yes, he repeated a story somebody told him irresponsibly, that and the story was 100% fake, and we're going to prove that for you right now. Not only did he repeat that fake story, he repeated that fake story in monetized YouTube videos. He's made somewhere between $500 and $1,000 off of this latest completely and totally fake story, just in monetized ad revenue. And by the way, the story came crashing down probably, I think, yesterday. The monetized video of him selling this Patchgate completely and totally fake story of an alien crash retrieval and back engineering program at Area 51, the monetized video is still up on the Need to Know, his YouTube channel with this Bryce Zabel. A man of integrity, of honor, or ethics would say, oh, that story was fake. We can't leave that up on our YouTube channel and keep accepting ad revenue from a completely and totally fake story and take it down. They haven't taken it down. They're going to leave that up and suck every dollar out of this fake story that they can. But not only did he profit from, and in my opinion, this is a form of fraud. That's just my opinion. What he did is a form of fraud. It's consumer fraud to me to say, oh, this is a true story and put it on YouTube and accept all the money. And then it turns out, oh, it's a completely and totally fake story. And he didn't do 5 minutes of research to determine that it was a fake story. But it is what it is. But not only did he accept the ad revenue money for this completely and totally fake story, he accepted a speaking engagement, which I'm told was probably very lucrative for him. He accepted a speaking engagement in which he spoke about this completely and totally 100% fake story. Let me share my screen just to show you. This is from a recent public appearance of his where he was paid to be a speaker. And by the way, I'm just assuming that he was paid to be a speaker at this special event in Australia about UFOs and aliens. And he pitched this story. This is the story that he told of this alien crash retrieval program. And his only evidence, here's a quote from him. There's a really interesting story there, and it's quite hilarious. It goes to what this person very, very convincingly, on the basis of information he's provided me privately, convinces me this is a patch for a team at Area 51 that are involved in reverse engineering. That's the claim being made. Now, before we get into Ross Coulthart's wonderful retelling of the story, there's some instant red flags that this patch is not from an Area 51 reverse engineering program. I'm a computer science guy, so I instantly noticed the binary. And I went rushing to see what that binary means, what it translates as. And interestingly, one of the things that I found was that that binary code, you see the ones and zeros on the right-hand side of the patch, on the right-hand side of the lightning bolt? Well, that binary number is actually from a Star Trek The Next Generation episode. And interestingly, it's one of my favorites. It's the one where the Binars take control of the Starship Enterprise because they have to save their home planet's primary computer core. And they were afraid that the Enterprise and crew would say no. So they sort of knocked, to the best of my recollection, they knocked everybody out and they took over the Star Trek Enterprise, and the Enterprise had to go and get back into their computer system and take control of their ship back. And the Binars, which is a race of aliens, they were sort of knocked out while their computer system on their home world was down and rebooting. Here's just a quick clip from that.
They're successful.
This is them taking control of the ship back from the Binars.
Their system started up. A resident diagnostic program is running. The system is absolutely incredible.
And there's the Binars. And they're waking back up. So isn't that interesting that this is supposed to be a patch about an alien reverse engineering program at Area 51, And the binary on the patch is the title of a Star Trek episode. Isn't that great? That could have been Ross Coulthart's first red flag that this story was fake. But that didn't stop Ross Coulthart from selling this completely and totally fake Patchgate story. He doubles down, he triples down. He still has not, to the best of my knowledge, he hasn't tweeted, "I'm sorry, that story was false." He hasn't taken the monetized video down. He's still collecting money for this 100% completely and totally fake story. But before we show you the proof that this is indeed a completely and totally fake story, let's share with you Ross Coulthart's story that he was selling here about a reverse engineering alien program at Area 51. And his only evidence is a patch that was sold on eBay. And wait till we get into that and show you the slimy character behind the sale of this so-called top secret Area 51 patch.
And explain them. I will ask the questions along with you, Ross. So I say, let's get to it.
Now, Bryce, this might be a good segue for me to tell you about somebody who contacted me just in this past week.
By the way, fair use.
Not one of my legacy program sources. They're not one of the first-hand witnesses, but they are.
By the way, I just want to say that Ross Coulthart and Bryce's, or is it Bryce or Bruce? I always forget. Their show is called Need to Know. And what you need to know is they're garbage peddlers. That's what you need to know about Need to Know. They sell fake stories. They sell garbage. That's what they do over at Need to Know. You need to know that Need to Know are garbage peddlers. All right, let's get into this fantastical fairy tale that Ross is going to tell everybody.
I are somebody who's contacted Arrow, and with their permission, I'm allowed to talk about the fact that they've approached Arrow, and they told me that they've given a 45-minute telephone interview to Arrow about...
Did he call Arrow and verify that this person actually gave a 45-minute phone call to Arrow? How would you even do that? Their phone number is not really like out there and listed, is it? I don't know. Seems suspicious already. So this person testified to Arrow about what they knew about the aliens.
What they know. And in all honesty, they've approached with some really interesting information, which I'd love to...
Really interesting information, all of which just happens to be completely and totally fake.
No, if we do get the opportunity to talk to Dr. Kirkpatrick, how have they investigated what this person has told them?
Well, Arrow won't need to investigate it because, and by the way, Ross Coulthart was making fun of these silly debunkers on the internet who said that that patch wasn't what he said it was. And it looks like the silly debunkers nailed that patch to the exact program that it came from 100%. And it is not, I repeat, it is not from an Area 51 crash retrieval or back engineering alien technology program. That much is certain. So Ross Coulthart making fun of these silly internet debunkers, they did the work that he couldn't or would not do.
So this is a guy who knew somebody who worked for a major defense contractor.
And by the way, this is just one version of the story that he used to try to sell the patch. There's other versions of the story that he used to try to sell this patch on eBay. And by the way, a quick reverse Google image search, Ross Coulthart could have found those eBay listings in 30 seconds flat and saw that the very same seller used multiple different stories trying to sell that patch. That would be your second red flag that this story is completely and totally fake. But Ross didn't do that, because why should you let something like facts, evidence, and history of the so-called information source get in the way of a really good alien fairy tale that you can make thousands of dollars with? Because that's apparently what Ross did. He made thousands of dollars, allegedly, from public speaking fees and this monetized YouTube video, which is still up on the Need to Know YouTube channel. They're still accepting ad revenue for this now busted, completely and totally fake story.
And had a very high DOD security clearance. This person had a great uncle who passed away last year of a heart attack in his sleep at age 75.
And again, this is just one version of the story that this person who was selling this so-called top secret patch on eBay was using to try to make money.
Their great uncle served in the US Air Force for 28 years at E8 level, and then was hired to work with EG&G. And worked at Area 51 Groom Lake from 1997 to 2014.
Again, there's no evidence, just a story. Somebody told him.
Whatever that is. Before he passed away, this relative, this great uncle, confided to my source very important information that to the individual that has contacted me. It was shared that the great uncle had a conversation with a senior engineer when he first arrived in 1997, whose EG&G group was tasked with trying to reverse engineer an object that was recovered and brought to Area 51 in the 1980s by some CIA folk.
Oh, so the CIA brought some alien technology to Area 51, and this guy selling the patch on eBay said that his uncle talked to somebody else. So we've got like third-hand witness account. This guy who sold the patch on eBay's uncle talked to somebody else who told him that story. So this is a game of telephone, first of all, because Ross Coulthart is now repeating a third-hand story. The first-hand witness was the guy who knew about this program, who talked to the great uncle, and the great uncle told the story to the guy selling the patch, who then told the story to Ross Coulthart. So what we're getting is actually a third or fourth-hand account of this story. You see the problems already? That could be another red flag. This is a fourth-hand account of a story about alien back engineering at Area 51.
Shortly after that conversation, the senior engineer retired. Their great uncle also saw an up-close, crystal-clear photograph of the same exact object attached to the wall of a secure vaulted data storage room at Area 51 sometime after.
Oh, so the guy selling the patch's uncle saw a picture. Okay.
The great uncle stated it was absolute proof of a non-human craft, but that the public would probably never get to see that photograph.
Oh, it was absolute proof. He saw absolute proof, but the public wouldn't get to see that photograph. Maybe because that photograph doesn't exist, Ross Coulthart? Can you show us the photograph? Of course not. But I'm going to tell you a third-hand account of a story about a guy who saw a photograph, right?
He said, quote, the object was egg-shaped, about the size of an SUV, silverish grey in colour, smooth, seamless, no control surfaces or propulsion.
Yeah, where have we heard that before? No control surfaces. It was smooth, no rivets, right? That's pretty much Bob Lazar's description of some of the so-called alien craft at Area 51. I don't think it's a coincidence that those accounts sound so similar.
Visible, no writing, no symbols of any kind. A few men could pick it up, yet it could not be cut open and X-rays couldn't penetrate it. The best engineers at EG&G tried to figure out how to activate it and what its power source was to no avail. They finally came to the
they couldn't figure out the alien egg.
The conclusion, it was a probe craft sent here from another planet.
Okay. So it was a probe craft sent here from another planet. Even though they couldn't figure out the power source or how to activate it or how to cut it open, they knew it was a probe sent here from another planet somehow. Come on, it's getting deep in here.
This anonymous individual is willing to testify under oath before Congress. He also took a smartphone image of his great uncle's EG&G engineering group and their insignia patch, and he's authorized me to allow us to show that patch, which I'll send you after this chat, and you can.
Yeah, and I don't know why they didn't show the patch in this. I don't
cut it in, my friend.
You can cut it in, but they didn't show the patch. Do you know why? Because they did not want people to figure out that the patch is not what Ross Coulthart is purporting it to be or reporting it to be. Because a lot of people don't know this, but there are Area 51 experts out there, people who worked there for decades, people who had very high clearances and could identify what that patch actually was, or verify that it really was from an Area 51 crash retrieval and back engineering program. But they didn't show the patch, I think, until Ross did the public appearance where he took money to retell this same fake story.
Vigil has also interviewed with Arrow and has signed and dated an official memorandum of record. And he's also spoken with Tim
I agree.
Burchett as well, the individual. Now, this is a really interesting example of somebody who's come forward to Arrow with information.
With false information.
I just wonder, when Dr. Kirkpatrick says that there's no credible evidence of extraterrestrial visitation of planet Earth, is he aware of this memo? Is he aware of this conversation that this person purports that he's already had?
Yeah, and see, Ross Coulthart doesn't like Sean Kirkpatrick because he said that he has been investigating and has found no evidence of alien technology or alien back engineering programs, legacy or otherwise. So Ross Coulthart likes to, he's using this fake story to try to gotcha Kirkpatrick of Arrow. Look, he's lying because we have this witness who said that he talked to Arrow and his uncle worked for an alien back engineering. Bullshit. It's all fake. And his only evidence is some guy selling a so-called top secret patch on eBay, the binary code of which is a Star Trek episode. That could be a red flag. The story's fake. But he's trying to gotcha the guy like, oh, he's lying about the alien technology, Kirkpatrick is. This story is completely and totally fake. Maybe Kirkpatrick is a smart and educated man, and like me, he figured out what that patch really is, right?
With people from Arrow, is he saying to Congress that there is no information because this person's information, of course, is hearsay? But you could very quickly check this information by approaching the direct source and moreover checking the bona fides of the great uncle.
Did he check the bona fides of the great uncle? Did he verify that this guy selling a patch on eBay's uncle actually worked at Area 51, or did he just accept the story that he was told and run with it? You know, this is the difference between a real investigative journalist and a garbage peddler. A real investigative journalist, the first thing they would have done is ask for the uncle's name and did a complete and total military and career background check on him and found out if it's even plausible that he indeed worked at Area 51.
So I guess I'd just like to know more. I mean, it raises more questions than it answers. I've had a few of these kind of messages from people who are frustrated that Arrow's boss is saying one thing when they say they have presented.
Yeah, wackadoos are saying, we have proof of alien technology, and it's a patch that I was selling on eBay, right? And by the way, by the time Ross got this story, the guy already sold the patch on eBay. But this entire story, friends, completely and totally falls apart based on that patch. And we're going to get into the evidence and the proof of that. So again, his only evidence is some guy told me, you know. Also, it's important to point out that the person that was selling this had multiple stories about where the patch came from. And we're going to get into it. Charlie Weiser, I have to say, friend of the show. Thank you, Charlie Weiser, for doing what you do. Did an excellent breakdown of this story, which we're going to share for you. And before anybody accuses me, this is Charlie Weiser's thread. And Charlie Weiser culled the information from Metabunk and various other internet sources and just made it digestible in a YouTube thread. Thanks to Charlie Weiser and all who contributed to busting this complete and totally fake story. From Ross Coulthart's podcast, August 4th, where he talks about the patch, his source, presumably Lockheed Skunk 117 on eBay, Bill's Mafia 716Y on Twitter, snuck a photo of his great uncle's patch before he died last year. And last week gave it to Coulthart to show us. That was one version of the story. His uncle was sleeping and he took a picture of the patch. This great uncle never saw the egg-shaped craft, only a photo of it, shown to him by another engineer on the program in 1997 who promptly retired. The egg was featureless and was never penetrated, was nevertheless concluded that it had to be an ET probe. Coulthart's source, the great nephew, showed him both the secretly taking photo of the patch, which he presented at Saturday's talk. Remember, he got paid to give a talk about this, and it's a completely fake story. And one of the EG&G folk themselves. Coulthart does not specify that his source actually had multiple different photos of the patch from all the times he tried to sell it on eBay. Why bother with the story of secretly taking a photo? It's irrelevant. He secretly took the photo, but yet there's multiple versions of the photos of this thing on eBay on the different sales listings where he's trying to sell this patch. By the way, got a good buck for it. I think he got $550. It seems that the patch eventually sold in February 2023 for $550. Yes, $550. Most of it was probably for the Michael Jordan autograph stub that came with it. The buyer left this review and also bought Area 51 coins. So we know that the patch was sold for $550. The description of one of several different listings for the patch, it varied slightly each time. In this one, the seller claims to be the engineer who worked for the program. In other listings, he says it belonged to a family member. So here's the original eBay listing, or one of them. There's multiple ones. And again, the story keeps changing every time this guy's trying to sell it on eBay. In one version, it was his uncle's patch. In another version, it was his patch. And here's the listing. For sale is one patch that was specifically designed, produced, and handed out to the members of a small, top secret EG&G engineering group inside Area 51 in the early 2000s. I was part of that group. Each member was given one patch. This patch is super rare. I have never seen another one offered anywhere else before it, so it's special because it was actually inside Area 51 at one time. Ooh, it's rare. That makes it more valuable and you can get more money for it, right? It makes it the ultimate Area 51 item you will ever find. This patch is 100% authentic and original, not a reproduction or a novelty patch. It's in great condition for being almost 20 years old. See the pictures I have, 100% positive eBay feedback. Buy with complete confidence. Free FedEx shipping with signature required. No returns. Message me with any questions you might have. And here, the seller seems to confirm that he told Coulthart the picture he gave him was the one he sneakily took when his uncle was sleeping. This part of the story is clearly fabricated. He had at least 6 pictures from 3 photo shoots plus 2 of the reverse. If someone lies about part of their story when they didn't have to, if the story were true, then the story is false. All the info Ross Coulthart got from this source about the egg-shaped craft is therefore also fabricated. The eBay review was left by the buyer. Sure. So there's that. And again, in another eBay listing, he didn't say I was part of the group. He said my uncle was part of the group. So it's interesting that the seller of the patch's story kept changing, and Ross Coulthart could have found all this out, but he was too much in a rush to slam and disparage and slander Kirkpatrick for being a liar about not having any evidence of alien technology, and too quick to jump on to a monetized YouTube video so he could make money retelling this completely and totally fake story. The great uncle was told about the egg-shaped craft by a senior engineer when he started at Area 51, then allegedly saw a photo of it on the wall in a data storage room. Oliver BF chimes in, but what a load of crap just for a patch bought on eBay. Who believes this crap anymore? You've got time to waste. It's interesting. Can Ross Coulthart's ego survive a bout of self-reflection on why he promoted a patch as belonging to an alien UFO reverse engineering program just because his source's great uncle colleague spun a yarn? And Charlie Weiser chimes in that I'm profiling Coulthart's latest blunder in a long line of blunders. Starts in a few minutes. Thank you for doing that, Charlie Weiser. And thank you for all that you do. Because we truly appreciate people actually looking for the link. 1 second here. All right, and here's how we know that the story is completely and totally fake. This guy first tells Ross Coulthart, I took a picture while my uncle was sleeping. He's taken 4 different pictures of this same patch while he was trying to sell it on eBay. Worthport cribbed the 5 eBay ads using the 4 photos plus 1 broken unknown image, so they're archived. None of the ads sold. Yeah. Rare historical EG&G Area 51 Groom Lake employee only engineering patch, and he was trying to get $1,000. EG&G Engineering UFO military super rare patch. Groom Lake EG&G employees only authentic and super rare patch. There's all these different. This guy was just trying to make money. He was just trying to make money selling this thing on eBay. It's very, very clear. So how do we know that this is that this patch is not what Ross Coulthart or his idiot source told him it was? Well, there are some clues. UFT8 is an output error symbol. There is one symbol that is for a radar screen. Blue star is used to denote United States Air Force friendly forces. So why would an alien crash retrieval program denote United States Air Force friendly forces? The lightning bolt is for electronic intel, and it's commonly used. And these waves that you see on the left-hand side of the patch are directional radiation antenna signal symbols. This thing that they said was an egg-shaped alien craft was actually used to represent an aluminum radar calibration sphere. Measure and analyze RCS signatures. Protect United States Air Force assets. So the patch is actually from Electronic Warfare and Radar Cross-Section Test Site, Groom Lake. And so it is from Area 51, but it has nothing to do with aliens. It's from an Electronic Warfare and Radar Cross-Section Test Site. That's exactly where it's from. Has nothing to do with aliens, has nothing to do with alien crash retrieval programs, has nothing to do with an egg-shaped alien space probe, as Ross Coulthart sold this story. The entire story rested on this patch. And by the way, all of these facts are things that Ross Coulthart could have learned before he ran to the internet to sell an alien story, and he did not do that. And there is further confirmation from Area 51 experts that this explanation for what that patch is 100% accurate. It came from Electronic Warfare and Radar Group off of Area 51. Had nothing to do with aliens, nothing to do with back engineering, nothing to do with crash retrieval programs. It had to do with radar, essentially. And we're going to share more proof of that. So just bear with me. We'll share this tab. And this is from Duke from the Metabunk forum. You know, those pesky debunkers that keep ruining the money being made by alien story grifters like Ross Coulthart. And Duke says, okay, now I feel comfortable posting this. The link below is to a thread about the subject patch I stated on the forum, of which I am the moderator, of Dreamland Resort. For those unfamiliar with the site, it's a website devoted to Area 51 and Black aircraft programs. Many of the posters are former Area 51 employees and or members, me included, members of Pioneers of Stealth. The site is owned by Jorg Arnoux, a true gentleman I am proud to call my friend. Jorg has devoted much of his life to the study of Black programs. Jorg lives in Rachel, Nevada, near Area 51. One of the most prominent members of their staff is Peter Merlin. That's a name that may be familiar with you. He is an Area 51 expert. And by the way, Ross Coulthart, if he was unsure of something, could have sought out an Area 51 expert and asked him about the patch. He didn't do that. One of the members of the DLR staff is Peter Merlin. Peter is a highly respected aviation historian and Area 51 historian, known for his extensive knowledge of books and articles about Area 51 and classified programs. Peter Merlin would be accepted into a court of law as an expert on aviation history and Area 51 history. Peter Merlin has authored numerous books and articles on aerospace history and technology, as well as volumes on Area 51 and the Nevada test site for Arcadia Publishing. He has appeared in documentary programs for the History Channel, Discovery, National Geographic, and others. And by the way, I instantly recognized his name. I'm something of an aviation nerd myself. I have some of his stuff. In the DLR link below, please see Peter and others' responses to my initial request for info on this patch. If Peter says if Peter says this is the background on the patch, I take that to the bank. There are obviously others who responded, but I know and trust Peter. I personally consider this case closed, at least with respect to Coulthart's claims of the patch representing a UFO crash retrieval reverse engineering program. So this is from aviation historian and Area 51 expert Peter Merlin. Sorry. He says, and I quote, "I have known about this patch for several years after first encountering it as an EG&G radar patch from the test site. Of course, EG&G has since become URS, now AECOM, but I digress. The main point is that it is from the EWRCS range, a radar range at Groom. Yes, the silver ball on the emblem represents one of the aluminum calibration spheres. The binary code 11001001 has been driving me crazy, though. There are so many possible conversions, and it was even the title of a Star Trek The Next Generation episode. I do think the black rhombus with the white question mark is the very best explanation so far. It fits well with other test site iconography." Peter Merlin warns, "It's wise never to jump to conclusions when analyzing organizational patches and similar items. A lot of completely unrelated insignia share the same design elements: lightning bolts, stars of certain colors, generic aerodynamic shapes, etc. Names such as Mad Hatters or Dark Knights, and mottos, Latin or otherwise. A lot of people jump right on something that is labeled DET3 without checking to verify that the parent organization as FTC, now AFTC, a grouping of 6 stars, doesn't always denote Area 51. Sometimes this symbolism is obvious to the point of unbelievability, and other times it may be entirely cryptic." And so this Metabunk poster, Duke, says, "I want to thank Jorg for his help and permission to cross-pollinate the 2 sites. Mentioning UFO, UAPs on DLR is highly frowned on. But after an hour or so on the phone last night, we worked it out. He could not have been more accommodating. My thanks as well to the DLR members who took the time to offer up their thoughts, and especially to Peter Merlin. Thanks to NorCal Dave for his patience and advice as I struggled with how best to provide this information in a somewhat different source for Metabunk." So there we have it. On the record, Area 51 expert takes one look at the patch and says, that doesn't have anything to do with the alien or crash retrieval program. It's from a radar test site. And interestingly, we do have some information on what that site actually does. And let me see if we can't get that to share with you as well. It's interesting. Actually, what they do is interesting. One second here. Ooh, 1 second. I'm sorry. Yeah, so we're calling this fake story Patchgate. Okay. And we have a post from the same poster, Duke, giving a little more information about what that area at Area 51, what that patch is really all about. Apparently, Exploitation of Russian aircraft at Area 51 has apparently continued and includes a well-documented case of an Su-27 flanker being test flown against the United States Air Force F-16 back in 2016. Yes, the Daily Mirror isn't the most credible source, but I chose it because of the number and quantity of those photos in the article. The flanker is rumored to have been flying from Groom Lake for nearly 20 years, but no one ever managed a definitive photograph to prove it does exist. The sequence of photos is the first proof that the Americans are flying this aircraft, which is the premier air defense fighter in use with the Russian and Chinese air forces. So isn't it interesting that apparently the United States government is in possession of Russian fighters and Russian aircraft. And what this patch is related to is a group that would shoot radar at these Russian fighters being test flown so that we could see the radar signatures and exploit their weaknesses when it comes to radar and detection. That's what this whole patch and program was about. Had nothing to do with alien technology, zero. Had nothing to do with alien crash retrieval programs, zero. It had nothing to do with what Ross Coulthart or his shitty source said it did. And that's just a fact. Ross Coulthart can say whatever he's going to say. Even if you give him the, total benefit of the doubt, what you're left with is that Ross Coulthart is completely and totally lazy as a journalist and a researcher. He's either lazy or he knew that this wasn't what he said it was, but he needed a new story to sell because the Grush money's drying up already because that house of cards is falling down without evidence to hold it up. Patchgate. The patch is from Electronic Warfare and Radar Cross-Section Test Site, Groom Lake, Area 51. And one of the activities that this group would do, remember it says measure, analyze, and protect. And the blue star is for United States Air Force friendly forces. They want to help the United States Air Force friendly forces. And how do they do that? They measure, analyze, and protect. So they have these Russian and some say even Chinese aircraft in the possession of the United States government through whatever means they got them, and they take them to Area 51. They're test flown, and this group would measure, analyze, and protect by testing radar systems on enemy aircraft. That, my friends, is exactly what this patch was about and the group related to it about. Ross Coulthart got the story completely and totally 100% wrong. This is not the first time Ross Coulthart has done sloppy, lazy vetting of sources, and I don't believe it'll be the last time. This is not the first time that Ross Coulthart has been caught selling a completely and totally fake story, and I don't believe it'll be the last time. And so you may ask yourself, we have been through 3 examples of 100% provably fake stories that Ross Coulthart has peddled. Now ask yourself, how likely is it that Dave Grush really has all this evidence that Ross Coulthart says he has, right? Are we going to all get ready for the big letdown here? I am not hopeful that Grush is going to come through with evidence. After all, it's been more than 2 months. All these people are saying all kinds of things. Oh, no, he gave his evidence to Congress. Listen, if there was 100% verifiable smoking gun evidence or proof that the United States government has alien bodies or alien spacecraft, and the evidence of which was given to people, don't you think that information would have leaked to a journalist or something, right? It hasn't. There's a reason it hasn't. We also need to remember that people heard all of Grush's testimony, all 11 hours of it. And some of those congressional staffers went back to their congresspeople and they said, and I quote, Dave Grush is not a reliable witness, unquote. Why is that? Why would they listen to this guy telling everything he could behind closed doors? Nothing is off limits, nothing classified or whatever. He can talk about whatever he wants for 11 hours to them. And Tim Burchett himself said that congressional staffers came back to him and claimed that after hearing that testimony, that Mr. Dave Grush is a, quote, unreliable witness, unquote. Tim Burchett said that himself. He was complaining. It's not their job to make that determination. Well, they heard all his testimony and they decided he was an unreliable witness. Maybe they knew that he was also put in a mental institution shortly before he went on his, mission to find alien bodies and spacecraft, apparently given to him by Jay Stratton, who's another wackadoo. Remember, he believes poltergeists and werewolves followed him home from Skinwalker Ranch. That was his boss. And who was the chief scientist at the same group that Dave Grush worked for? Oh, Travis Taylor, the guy from the Skinwalker scam that can't tell the difference between a bug and an alien spacecraft. And, by the way, they had all this time to determine what some of these things are, to identify them, and they couldn't do it, right? Because they were convinced everything's aliens. So I'm not hopeful about this Grush story. Now, we do have some additional time, so we are going to give you some more information about another, I believe, I don't want to get in an argument with people, but I believe this other story from Ross Coulthart was also a completely and totally fake story. And that would be the Wilson Davis notes. Now, it is interesting that people are claiming that those notes are real, even though Admiral Wilson himself said, no, they're not. This is a work of fiction. There's a famous quote he gave to Stephen Greenstreet of the New York Post, calling the Wilson Davis notes a, quote, work of fiction. We want to take a moment to thank and recognize Lou Jimenez from Lou Reviews. In the description of our video here is a link to his YouTube channel. He did an excellent, one of my favorite videos that I've ever seen anybody do on aliens and UFOs is the video that Mr. Jimenez did. You may remember him from Unidentified Celebrity Review. Now he's doing a different sort of show. Well, it's slanted a little differently. If you're used to the old show, it'll take some getting used to. But he's doing a new show just called Lou Reviews. And he's become quite skeptical of a lot of these alien and UFO stories, much like me. So we want to make sure we credit him and recognize this is, I didn't make this video, he did, but I think he did such a great job breaking down Ross Coulthart selling what many believe to be another completely and totally fake story based on piss poor evidence and conflicting stories. And by the way, I also just want to mention that everybody keeps claiming that the Wilson Davis notes came out of Edgar Mitchell's estate. No one's ever proved it. No one has proven it. Show me an on-the-record statement from Edgar Mitchell's family saying, yes, those notes came out of his estate after he died. Nobody can. I've challenged people to do that. And that's just one point of contention on those notes that I have. There's an awful lot more. But it's important to recognize that besides these three stories that are completely and totally fake, provably so, that we detailed for you tonight that Ross Coulthart has sold, there is also the issue of him making money selling these Wilson Davis notes. Essentially, he has to call a decorated Navy admiral a complete and total liar to make the grift work. And he was willing to do that. Just like he was willing to name names and call people the P word, say that they did horrible sex type things to children or, tortured children. And he named names in that piece. We can see that Ross Coulthart displays an absolute and total lack of any integrity, any ethics whatsoever. It's also interesting to note that besides all of these fake stories, do you remember how Ross Coulthart was so shocked that a journalist would do a smear or hit piece? Well, Ross Coulthart was literally hired by a proven murderer and war criminal to dig up dirt on the journalists that were calling him a murderer and a war criminal. Turns out all those journalists got the story about that murderer and war criminal completely and totally right. But Ross Coulthart accepted a job working for that war criminal to try to, I suppose, dig up dirt on those journalists that were doing a good and accurate reporting job on that murderer and war criminal. So where is this guy's ethics? They're in the gutter. This is somebody's husband, somebody's father. How proud his family must be, right? What, do you ever remember when you were younger and people asked, like, what's your dad do?
Oh, my dad sells fake stories, and he accuses people of being pedophiles for money, even though the story's fake. Oh, and he also sells completely and totally fake alien stories for money. Oh, and he also works for a convicted murderer, he also works for a proven war criminal, trying to smear people who were telling the truth about him. Great guy, boy. He is just a shining bright light of virtuous, ethical, journalistic integrity. He has no right to be critical of any other journalist, period, based on his crap, piss poor history of selling completely and totally fake stories. But he sold more fake stories because besides these three, plus working for a proven war criminal to try to give him some propaganda to get out of being a war criminal, I don't know. Besides all that, he's also, pushing stories about giant alien spaceships, and he claims he knows the exact location of that giant alien spaceship, but he can't tell us because it's top secret, and he's a journalist with integrity, and he can't burn the source who told him where the giant alien spaceship is. Then he sold the Wilson Davis notes, which there is no proof are real. There is no proof that story's real, period. Just some notes somebody wrote. And the notes were written by Eric Davis, known, proven to me, wackadoo, the wormhole wackadoo, alien science guy, right? Who claimed to the New York Times 3 years ago that the government was in possession of non-human spacecraft, but never proved anything. That's who these notes came from, a wackadoo, who also took a bunch of money from the United States government to do research into things like wormholes. And there's some famous paper of him where he has a drawing of Einstein waving to Barney the dinosaur through a wormhole. That research would later be called crackpot research by the Air Force. This is the quality of information that Ross Coulthart is selling. And of course, they leave that stuff out. When he sells the Wilson Davis notes as possibly real, and I got a kick out of how many times he said allegedly in this Lou Jimenez piece. When he sells these things as being real, he forgets to tell you that Eric Davis they called his research crackpot research in a newspaper article, because that's what it is. Eric Davis, also highly involved with Hal Puthoff. He works for Hal Puthoff. The guy who took lots of money to study psychics and got fooled by children's magic tricks, and Uri Geller declaring him to be a real and genuine psychic with superpowers. This is just welcome to the circus, friends. All right, we're going to get into this video. And I want to thank Lou Jimenez again. Link to his YouTube channel is in the description. So if you want to see more great videos of his like this, go check out his channel. It's in the description of this video or podcast. Let's get into it. This one's a funny one, friend.
Warning to all those with a special love for the Wilson Davis documents, you may not want to watch this any further. This video will definitely trigger you. Personally, I think the Wilson Davis documents are total bollocks and not worth any serious time, especially considering one half categorically denies any of this ever happened. But with all the hubbub about these documents, I wanted to break down a discussion about the Wilson Davis documents between award-winning journalist Ross Coulthart and content creator and Wilson Davis believer Jay from Project Unity. Link for the entire interview is in the description below.
Here we go.
The implications of the Admiral Wilson document are that there is an apparent transcript, or at least a memo, that records an alleged conversation between astrophysicist Dr. Eric Davis and Admiral Tom Wilson in, I think, 2002, ironically, in a car park outside the offices of EG&G, the notorious Area 51 logistics firm in Las Vegas. And it should be emphasized right from the head that Admiral Tom Wilson, the former director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, categorically denies that any such conversation took place or that he has ever made any such statements. So, with that in mind, let's proceed to what the document actually says.
Why? Why would you do that? What is the matter with you people?
The document purports to be a record, a very detailed record of a conversation that took place between Davis and Wilson, where Wilson basically described the efforts that he had made to try to investigate claims that were put to him by Dr. Stephen Reeder.
When we landed on the moon, there was around that crater above where we landed, there were multiple ET craft that were just hovering there watching. And that is true. That's 100% true.
In a meeting in 1997, where Greer basically revealed to him, allegedly, code names that he was not familiar with, that when he investigated those code names inside the Pentagon, Admiral Tom Wilson purportedly discovered a covert, hidden UFO, UAP crash retrieval program that was concealed inside very secure, secret special access programs that were hidden in a specific part of an office inside the Pentagon.
And that is true. That's 100% true.
And what it described essentially was that the United States had allegedly recovered craft, alien technology, and that moreover, that alien technology had been deliberately withheld from the purview of Congress and various oversight bodies.
And that is true. That's 100% true.
By concealing it inside private aerospace, inside a private aerospace company. And what the document purported to record was Admiral Wilson's frustrations at when he discovered the existence of this project, the obdurate resistance by that private aerospace company in allowing him to find out anything about the program, his eventual discovery and admissions from the aerospace company that, yes, they did have alien technology, that it was concealed and that he was not to talk about it, and moreover, that he was told to shut up about it by his superiors in the Defense Intelligence Agency. Now, it's one hell of a conspiracy.
What?
I've never known quite what to make of the Admiral Wilson document because, there are some people who say, including Admiral Wilson, that it's a hoax, that it's not true, that it doesn't record accurate events.
Categorically denies that any such conversation took place or that he has ever made any such statements.
But one thing I'm very, very sure of is that the provenance of the document is very clear in my book. I know for a fact that it came from the estate of Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the Apollo 14 lunar module pilot, and that Edgar Mitchell was probably sent it by either Eric Davis or Dr. Hal Puthoff shortly after the conversation allegedly occurred.
And that is true. That's 100% true.
And what interested me in the interview that I did with Professor Gary Nolan a few weeks ago is when I asked Gary Nolan about the Admiral Wilson document, it was very much in the context of the general claim, pushed indeed in part by people like Lou Elizondo, the former head of the Pentagon's UFO program. There was retrieved technology of some kind, or as Lou refers to it, exotic material. Other people have been more frank. But basically, in the context of that conversation, I then went for it.
I don't know, I just woke up from a little nap. It's a little dark, but you guys silly? I'm still going to send it.
And decided to ask Professor Gary Nolan, does he know anything about the Admiral Wilson document? And he said, yes. I asked him, does he think it's genuine? And he said, yes. He said, I know Eric Davis, and Eric is of a kind of character, it's impossible for him to lie.
It's impossible for him to lie. It's impossible for him to lie.
I mean, I know Eric Davis, and, Eric is of a kind of character that it's just impossible for him to lie.
Dr. Eric Davis tells you something, then he's not lying to you. In fact, if you ever met Dr. Davis, you'll realize he has an interesting little personality characteristic that prevents him from lying. So I'm not going to elaborate on what Eric Davis thinks or says or knows. He's his own man. I can tell you that when he tells you something, he tells you the truth. He has no motivation other than the truth.
ATIP never ended.
Nope.
It's still going on today?
Yep.
Who runs it?
Not in that name.
Oh, they changed the name?
Change names, change location, change leadership.
1 minute later.
It isn't likely to change locations for any reason. It isn't likely to change locations for any reason. It isn't likely to change locations for any reason.
It's impossible for him to lie. It's impossible for him to lie. It's impossible for him to lie.
What the hell are you talking about?
And then I explain the significance of that document, which is that Tom Wilson, the Admiral, allegedly had a conversation with Eric Davis where he imparted his discovery that was allegedly a secret UFO reverse engineering program going on inside either the US government or private corporate aerospace, where they were hiding, allegedly, a recovered spacecraft. It was being hidden supposedly inside private aerospace, according to the memo, in a private aerospace corporation.
And that is true. That's 100% true.
And I put it to Gary. I said, look, Gary, the journo in me, the journalist in me, thinks it's highly implausible for the simple fact that in America, everything leaks. You know, it's impossible to keep a secret like that. And Gary went, well, this is an example of it leaking.
Everything leaks in this country.
And this is an example of it.
Okay, so you take that point.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it did leak.
Ultimately, it leaked.
And, he made the point that, yes, the memo had eventually come to public awareness. And I said, okay, but how sure are you of the provenance of the memo?
I mean...
And what the implications are of what's inside it. And he basically told me that he's known about the memo for many, many years before it even became public. And he's aware of the conversations. And without naming names, he satisfied himself that he believes that it's a genuine document and that it records an accurate account of events. Without naming names, he satisfied himself that he believes that it's a genuine document and that it records an accurate account of events. And he said to me, crucially, I might say to my colleagues out there, I know this all sounds completely crazy, absolutely crazy, but if you've seen the things that I've seen, you would only be able to come to a similar conclusion.
Wow. And that is true. That's 100% true.
I know, again, my reputation takes a hit. I'm sure there are prizes and other things that I'm never going to get because I'm talking about this. And believe me, I know for a fact, this is independent of any conversation I've had with Gary, I know for a fact that those hearings are going to very soon start on the Hill, and they are going to be momentous.
Momentous is a big word. Is there anything you can expand on there, or is that all we get?
No. I'm sorry, I can't.
Game over.
Why would Eric Davis lie about writing something that he never intended to go public in the first place?
Who cares? There we have it, friends. Another likely fake story. And are we starting to see that there is a pattern of manipulating data? And I love that line about, oh, Eric Davis couldn't lie if he wanted to. Come on. Anybody can lie. Everybody lies at one point or another, even if it's a white lie. You ever lie to your mom, or, come on. Eric Davis can't tell a lie, so the story must be true. That's your argument. How about you provide evidence instead of stories? But all we ever get is stories. Taxpayer, if these guys really knew anything, they would have fell out of a 13th floor window. Like Forstall did, right? He slipped. Taxpayer. Smash that like button. Mr. Ian is reminding everybody. And now is a good time to remind you, our wonderful viewers, that we are a viewer-supported show. And if Ross Coulthart can make millions of dollars lying to you, I think that our show should make some money for actually bringing you the truth. We are the second red pill, friends. We are the other side of the story that the Grift Squad leaves out or doesn't want you to know about. Because if you knew the other side of the story, they're false, deceptive stories built on lies, half-truths, shoddy evidence, terrible vetting, bad, witnesses that aren't who they say they are. It all falls apart if you know the whole story. I am very passionate about bringing the other side of the story. into the discussion and the conversation. And we exist here because they won't bring it to you. And unfortunately, especially after 2016, 2017, there's hundreds and hundreds of UFO shows, and they're all doing what I call the UFO circle jerk. You know, you got this guy sitting there interviewing Ross, just letting him talk, didn't interrupt him or ask questions, critical questions at all. Just there. The UFO circle jerk crowd, all those UFO shows, are there to help the top tier UFO celebrities sell their fake stories and make more money. They're there to help them amplify and sell the story to more people. They are not there to demand evidence, ask critical questions, and get to the truth of the story. But we are, friends, and I hope we always will be. So we are a viewer-supported show. I want to remind you, I want to thank each and every one of you for your kindness, generosity, and support. The show is not over. We're going to take comments and questions and have a discussion about all this when I return from these short messages. The show is not over. I will be back in just a few minutes. We'll be taking comments and questions from the live chat, have a discussion about all of these fake Ross Coulthart stories. We'll be right back, friends.
Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal, or Cash App. Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Campion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members-only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truthseekers. Thank you for your generosity and support. Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Now there's a great way to support these broadcasts and show your support. Please be sure and check out our merchandise store. Links to our 2 merchandise online stores are in the links to this video or podcast. The Amazon storefront ships super quickly in the United States, Great Britain, and in many more places. Amazon may not ship to your country or location. If that's the case, hit our second merchandise link in the description and visit our Redbubble storefront. Merchandise from our Redbubble storefront ships worldwide, but may take longer than Amazon. We've got a great deal of super high quality merchandise for you to choose from, including t-shirts, phone cases, sweatshirts, and even pillows. The feedback from our products have been overwhelmingly great. Quality products and fast shipping. People all over the world are buying some merchandise and showing their support of the show. Praise the cash. Praise the cash. Praise the cash. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors who are buying some merchandise and helping us to continue this journey. Thanks for being here. This is Truthseekers with your host, Stephen Campion. Please rate, like, and comment on our videos or podcasts. If you are listening to an audio podcast, please rate us 5 stars to help us rise in the search rankings. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to an audio podcast, we love and appreciate you listeners, but you are missing the live tapings. All our shows are recorded live with video feed. We'd love you to come be a part of our live broadcasts and tapings for the podcast. Head on over to YouTube, click the search tool, the little magnifying glass, put Truthseekers, one word in the search bar, and hit enter. You'll see a strange and mysterious guy with sunglasses. That means you found the channel. Go there, smash the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to receive up-to-date info on our YouTube channel. We welcome you to be a part of our live taping and our chat room during the live broadcasts. Seek the truth. Speak the truth. This is Truthseekers. Truthseekers.
Okay, friends, we're back and we'll be taking some comments and questions from the live chat. I'm happy to discuss all we've shared with you tonight. Patty Wilhelm is here. Longtime show supporter says, good folks here. And you're one of them, Patty. I'm always happy to see you here. Thanks for being here. Mark Tarana, longtime show supporter, is here, says, they are parasites that feed off the prominent UFO grifters. Yes. That's the name of the game. And I was warned when I started my show, you can't say whatever you want about these people, Stephen. You won't have a show. Yes, I can. And yes, I do. And yes, I will. Always been kind of, the underdog renegade. And I'm good with that. Another thing, Mark, that's very important is that I have never been a person that would accept people not giving me my place at the table. If you're not going to give me the place at the table that I deserve, then I'm going to knock you over and take my seat because I earned this place at the table. We have broken more stories here than any show that I've seen. We have exclusive stories here. We do as adequate and as good a job at researching and investigating things as I possibly can, being somewhat of a one-man army. We're starting this team Truthseekers. Hopefully things will get easier. And by the way, I do have help and accept help from great researchers, people like Charlie Weiser, who I love and respect. Charlie Weiser does an amazing job at digging into things, a lot like me. And we have a wonderful group of people here. By the way, you can join our Discord and chat with like-minded, strange weirdos. I'm one of them. Anytime you want to. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week over there on the Discord server. And there's all different, categories. So no matter what you're interested in, if you're interested in these strange and esoteric topics, you would enjoy the Discord server. And by the way, after tonight's broadcast, we then go over to the Discord server and we do a voice chat. So if you enjoy things like that and talking to like-minded people, come on over as soon as the broadcast ends. Now would also be a good time to mention that we have a new distribution partner in the form of Pilled.net. And I can't tell you how kind and generous they were with me in offering the support that I needed to get a bigger bullhorn. That, we need to increase our distribution. We need to find more and new people. And I got to say, over there on Pilled.net, the users over there have been extremely receptive to Truthseekers. We want to thank Mark Brown and the others who are being so kind and generous to us. Their whole team over there has been fantastic to me. And they put us in like the promo section to try to amplify more people on their platform finding our work. We've got a lot of people following us, and I'm making money. We just doubled our money from yesterday. Somehow, we're fully monetized over there, and you can be too. They got to turn it on for you and accept you as a content creator, but I can help expedite that if you're a good content creator and you need a place to distribute your content that is censorship free and a free speech platform. Then go on over to pill.net and sign up for an account. Put my name or Truthseekers in who referred you. And then you can message me and I can try to help expedite you getting that switch turned on so that you too can live stream and post your long form or short form, whatever content you have, whether it be artwork or a podcast, a video show. If you make videos, it's a great place. Somehow, and by the way, if you sign up for pill.net, once they turn you on as a content creator, you're fully monetized. You can make money immediately from the very jump. We have doubled our money from yesterday. They have something called gold pills. Yesterday we were at something like 225 or 250, and today we're at 525. And the form of currency they have there is gold pills, but that can be converted to whatever cash you want, whatever country you're in through Stripe. And you can cash out whenever you like, I'm told. So I'm going to let it build up and then we'll pull it out when we need it for something. But it's another revenue stream for our show here. It's been a great experience. I just want to play their bumper one more time to introduce you to their platform, pill.net, and invite you to join.
Welcome to pill.net. We aren't just another social media platform. We are the home of free speech. Pill.net offers people a place to share their thoughts, ideas, and content without the threat of censorship. With live streaming, uploaded content, social media posting, and more, Pill.net goes the extra mile by introducing innovative features like mobile push notifications that keep you connected without relying on big tech app stores. These notifications allow creators to instantly alert their audience when they're live or have posted new content, ensuring that your message reaches the right audience at the right time. Plus, with monetization available from day one, you can turn your passion into earnings right from the get-go. Donations and subscription options make it easier than ever to earn income with your content. And it doesn't stop there. Pill.net is constantly evolving to meet your needs. Our updated direct messaging system makes it easier than ever for content creators to engage with people privately. Anyone can also go start their own group chats with friends. Pill.net is more than just a platform. It's a lively community where everyone's voice counts. Make your account today and let our team welcome you to Pill.net. Free speech lives here.
And I'm a big supporter of free speech. So if you are too, I'm having a good time over there. And by the way, I'm always looking for things to listen to or things to watch. I'm kind of getting burnt out of Netflix and Amazon Prime. That's all we have at home. We don't have cable TV here anymore. And YouTube, I watch so many documentaries on YouTube. I'm constantly looking for new things, and I found a lot of interesting content creators that I haven't seen elsewhere over there at pill.net. Go give it a try. Let me know what you think. When you sign up, use my name. I just, by the way, just want them to know that we appreciate them becoming distribution partners and sponsors for us, and that we're trying to send them new users, and they're especially in need of good new content creators. So if that appeals to you, go over to pill.net, sign up, use my name as who referred you, and then let me know what you think. Taxpayer's here and says, I can honestly say you are the best, Steve. Well, thank you, taxpayer, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you for your kindness. And is it Randy 1979 says, is it possible that Grush is still under contract with Ross or Corbell? We reported here that as of May 15th, when he had a meeting with a Canadian member of parliament, he was starting to talk about something, Dave Grush was, and Ross Coulthart stopped him and said, no, we need to save that for the documentary. So he's already got a documentary deal with Ross Coulthart, apparently. So it probably would be accurate that he's under some form of contract with Ross Coulthart. Yeah, and John says it's something different over there at Pilled. Yeah, it's an interesting site that brings together lots of different, like aspects of. It's like they mix together everything that they liked from Facebook with Twitter and YouTube and Discord chat. It's an interesting site, and as a computer programmer myself, I have to appreciate the effort. Those guys have been programming that since 2018, and it's just now kind of coming into fruition now and becoming, and becoming more, widely used. And they're going to be doing a push, of course, to get new users and to grow their platform. And we're happy to try to help assist with that because they have been so great to us. They gave me unlimited space. I can upload my whole 1,000+ show archive there. We're going to start on that. We're trying to figure out the best way to do that, because the one thing that they don't have is an automatic way to do that like Rumble did, but Rumbles didn't work right, and neither did Odyssey. They both said that they would just import your YouTube channel, but it would get stuck. It wouldn't get all the videos, and both Rumble and Odyssey didn't quite do that. I don't care. I might just start uploading them from episode 1 forward. Maybe I'll put a few a day on there, and we'll see how long it takes me to get through it, maybe a year. But if I'm only uploading a few a day, it's going to take me 10 minutes to upload 2 of them and copy and paste the thumbnails and description. I just like the fact that they gave me unlimited space, so I can have a complete and total backup of our entire show history here in the case of any problems, right? Yeah, and the Sixth Sense says you don't have to walk on eggshells like here on YouTube. Yeah, and we're going to be doing a Truthseekers Uncensored stream, and we're going to do it on Pill.net because we can curse, we can have dancing girls in cages, we can have dancing girls on poles, we can have dancing men for the ladies. We can do anything we want over there, and nobody's going to get upset. Well, maybe somebody, I don't know, but we won't get penalized for cursing. We won't get penalized for having dancing girls or adult content or anything like that. Mr. Ree is here, and thank you for being a member. Says things are really taking off for you and Truthseekers. Will the live shows broadcast there as well? Yeah, they're broadcasting right now. And in fact, I'm a terrible show host, and I did it again. I forgot to put in the description of our video here. I'm going to do that right now. But first, I will put a link to tonight's live stream that is live streaming on Pill.net right now. I'm going to put that into our live chat here, so you can go and check out. You can't post. You can check out Pill.net, by the way, without an account if you just want to go check it out before you sign up. But signing up is free. I'm just going to say link to our Pill.net stream is here, and I'm going to put that I'm going to put that right in our live chat here. And there you go. And if you do sign up, make sure that you follow me on Pill.net, and I'm going to put it in the description of this video right now. Before I forget, I should have it in the description of every video. I'm just going to put link to our Pill.net stream is here. So you too can find me on Pill.net. And just like everywhere else, if you want to communicate with me, my DMs or private messages, I'm not sure, Sixes, do they call it DMs? I think they call it DMs over there. Direct messages over there are open. Anybody can message me over there. But that's the same as, you can email me, you can message me, you can follow me on Twitter at Stephen Cambian. My DMs are open there as well. And I have shared the link to our Pill.net stream, so you can check it out. How about Greer wearing a thong? That would be perfectly acceptable on Pill.net. It's a free speech zone. We can do whatever we want. Stormcrow says, does that mean more Trixie? Yes, I believe that it definitely does. I believe that it definitely does mean more Trixie. And I got to reach out to her and get some new material, perhaps, right? I'm happy to say we're at 8,930 subscribers, rapidly approaching my original goal of 10,000 subscribers. Didn't think it would take this long, but I want to thank all of you who have been subscribing to our YouTube channel, If you're listening on another platform, please do go on over to YouTube and put Truthseekers, one word, in the search bar. Look for me, the strange guy with sunglasses, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell so that you know when we're doing new shows. And it's also good to follow me on Twitter at Stephen Cambion. We always announce the shows on Twitter. I tweet them out a few hours or more before the show actually takes place. We appreciate all of you who have been subscribing and following me on Twitter. We're starting to really grow. I appreciate it. And I just want to mention, and I apologize. Let me share my screen. During your presentation, I missed the couple of super chats that we got, so I apologize. So we want to thank Spooky for kind and generous £2. Great Britain pounds took over the Star Trek Enterprise. Laugh out loud. Well, they did, didn't they? Kind of. I don't know. I gotta watch that episode again, Spooky. And we want to thank Keith Gardek for kind and generous $20 super chat. Who says, "Come on, Stephen, you know Michio Kaku is out of control." Yeah, I agree. And thank you, Keith Gardek. Very generous of you. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. We also want to be sure that we thank all of you kind and generous Twitch subscribers, you kind and generous Patreon supporters, and YouTube channel members. We are getting, everybody's throwing a couple of bucks in our hat and helping us to continue this journey. We've used some of those funds to build a brand new live show set that will be included, that will be launching very, very soon, and will allow us to have in-person real guests right in the same room with me. So I'm hoping to launch that soon. I've been waiting on this backdrop forever. I'm giving up. I'm gonna just paint that wall where we're missing the one drop we need. It's a 14-foot long wall. So I got a 15 or 16-foot long backdrop, but it's coming from China. It's never getting here. I'm just giving up. I'm going to go to Lowe's and get some paint and just paint that wall because, this room was storage room. So there was all kinds of like junk against the wall and the wall's dirty. So I got to paint the whole wall. And then at that point you go, well, maybe I'll just paint the whole huge room, but that's going to take some time. But I'm so sick of waiting for this backdrop. I'm just going to order the paint and go to it. We want to thank Matthew for a kind and generous $100 PayPal pledge. Thank you very much, Matthew, for your support. We appreciate you, and thank you for appreciating what it is that we do here. We want to thank Maria for a kind and generous $25. And by the way, Matthew had no message. Maria, also no message, a kind and generous $25 PayPal. And we have initials JP, Jason, with a kind and generous $3.33 PayPal. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. For those unaware, we read every single super chat. We thank every single person that sends a PayPal pledge, and we appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for your kindness, generosity, and support. Then Lizzie says, we need Truthseekers booty shorts. I'm all for that. We'll get the merchandise guy on it, right? I'll send him a message as soon as the broadcast ends. The new Truthseeker set will be off the chain. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really think it's cool, but it's not quite that impressive. Like we got a couch, a glass desk for me, and a couple of chairs. That's what we got. It's not that impressive, but I am working on the lighting and the sound, and it's going to work and look great. And we'll have probably a 6-camera multicam setup in here. I can't wait to get that thing going. We've got in-person guests, and actually maybe it's good that the set's taking longer than expected because I keep getting contacted from people local to me. I didn't know, but there's a paranormal society right in my area, and they want to come in and have a talk. We've got Wreaking Havoc, who's local to me. I want to talk to a few other people that I'm aware live in Philadelphia or thereabouts near my home. And we've got 4 or 5 in-person guests willing to come here and do an in-person interview. So hopefully we'll get that started soon. I've been saying for a couple weeks now we're going to, and I really thought it was going to take us a couple of days and we'd be up and running, but We're waiting for parts and all kinds of stuff. Mr. Ian says, I've done Unix installations for Rolls-Royce. I had military clearance for 6 months. Well, that's interesting. Rezo Factor says, needs more Ed McMahon. Yeah, maybe we'll get one of those, right? Maybe we'll get one of those. Thin Lizzie Borden says, truth on one cheek seekers or other perfect advertising. Truth on one cheek. Okay. Whatever you ladies want, we'll make for you, right? Yeah, exactly. Operation Shutdown says, a 6-camera setup. Eat that, David Wilcock. Yeah, eat that, David Wilcock. Oh, that reminds me. I'm going to share this because it's just so goddamn funny. AI Steve has been at it again. And it's dangerous to get AI Steve to do certain things, but it is funny. And I'm all for that. So I tweeted this today. I'm going to share this with you. And this is why you should follow me on Twitter. It's at Stephen Cambio because we're always posting something funny. I said, someone asked me what David Wilcock has been doing with all his downtime lately. No videos for a long time now. His hover car company was a complete joke and failure. That was a Ponzi scheme, and all the investors were ripped off, apparently. So apparently this is a behind-the-scenes secret shot, and this is what this is what David Wilcock has been up to. He hasn't made a video in a long time, right? This is what he's been up to. Gotta love AI Steve. Thank you, Mr. Ian. That made me crack up today. Yes. John says there it is. Yes, and everybody does think that is pretty funny. Yeah, you know, it's all fun and games though until the feds bust down your door and arrest you for running embezzlement scams or I'm sorry, running investor scams or Ponzi schemes, you know, with a fraud fake aviation company. Oh, it's amazing. Also, I realized that I forgot to play a couple of these music songs by Simon Fly. We try to include some of those. I think they're great, so we'll take a moment and take a little musical break here. These are a few of my favorites from Simon Fly. I want to thank Simon Fly as well for contributing to the show. You know, people say there's no new music. Well, now there's UFO land music. It's music all about the characters in UFO land. I think it's a completely and totally new art form, and Simon Fly is the inventor of it. Good for him. Let's check it out, friends.
I think there would be this big exhale for about a day, and then this turning inward and trying to reflect on what this means to us and our species and ourselves. Somber meaning serious. Somber meaning serious. Somber meaning serious. Somber meaning serious. Somber meaning
Skinwalker Ranch. Game over. Skinwalker Ranch.
No credible evidence of extraterrestrial activity.
Game over. Skinwalker Ranch. Game over. Skinwalker Ranch.
No credible evidence of extraterrestrial activity.
Special report for you today. The Disclosure Project. The Disclosure Project. The Blake Cousins, we got a special report for you today. The Disclosure Project. The Disclosure Project.
Top secret military witness testimony. Witnesses who are whistleblowers, unconstitutional, 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 unconstitutional. Top secret military witness testimony. Witnesses who are whistleblowers, unconstitutional, 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 unconstitutional.
UAPs, otherwise known as UFOs. UAPs, otherwise known as UFOs. UAPs, otherwise known as UFOs. UAPs, otherwise known as UFOs.
I can feel it, can you feel it? 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 I can feel it, can you feel it?
I'm also a Nazi. There were good Nazis. I'm also a Nazi. I'm also a Nazi. So a Nazi. I'm also a Nazi. There were good Nazis. I'm also a Nazi. I'm also a Nazi. So a Nazi. I'm a misogynist. I hate my mother. I beat my father. I'm also a Nazi, a racist. I'm a misogynist. I hate my mother. I beat my father. I'm also a Nazi, a racist. I mag hunt. 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 I'm also a Nazi. There were good Nazis. I mag hunt. 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 I'm also a Nazi. I'm also a Nazi. So a Nazi. I mag hunt. I mag hunt. I mag hunt. I mag hunt. Hunt 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 mag hunt. Hunt mag hunt. Hunt mag hunt. Hunt mag hunt. Hunt 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 hunt.
The Mosul org. The Mosul org. The Mosul org. Org. UFOs. Metallic looking ball.
Praise God.
Metallic looking ball.
Praise God.
Nonsense. Nonsense.
The movement of the Spirit of God, the movement of the Spirit of God, the movement of the Spirit of God that has been prayed over.
Nonsense. The debunkers. Nonsense. Nonsense. The debunkers. Nonsense. Nonsense. The debunkers. Nonsense. Nonsense. The debunkers. Nonsense.
With flesh and blood.
Nonsense.
And don't you ever say I did. With flesh and blood.
Nonsense.
And don't you ever say I did. With flesh and blood.
Nonsense.
And don't you ever say I did. With flesh and blood.
Nonsense.
And don't you ever say I did. With flesh and blood.
Nonsense.
And don't you ever say I did. With flesh and blood.
Nonsense.
And don't you ever say I did. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but principalities and powers.
You gotta love it, friends. A whole new art form created here, well, created by Simon Fly mostly, and we thank him. Yes, Operation Shutdown correctly points out that pastor is praising the cash. Yes, Mr. Ian says, so beautifully done. Respect. Yes, we appreciate it. I'm sure that Simon Fly appreciates the kind words, right? Oh no, this video doesn't age well for Grifton. Yeah. Since when has he been telling the truth? Oh no. I bet Stormcrow says, I bet they have that grifter smell too, right? Was Brandon an extra on SNL Sprockets? Yes, could be. It could be. Jimmy Jerks, I can't with that dude, says The Sixth Sense. Yeah, I think that's funny. Did you know The Sixth Sense, he copyright claimed us for using that clip one time. We won on appeal, but still I think it's funny that he you know, I think it was that one that he copyright claimed us. I don't know, it was some clip from his show he copyright claimed us for. Interesting, right? Fly Guy. Yes, absolutely. Well, my friends, all journeys have their beginning and all journeys have their end. And we have had an amazing journey with you this evening. I want to thank all of you kind and generous benefactors. We want to thank our chat room moderators. We want to thank our announcer, Mr. Ian. We want to thank Simon Fly. for the wonderful music videos. We want to thank Charlie Weiser for the excellent information that she provided, proving that Ross Coulthart has once again been caught selling yet another completely and totally and provably fake story. I just can't get over the fact that people will argue with me and tell me he's an award-winning journalist. You know, that Linda Moulton Howe defense. Remember when she got busted selling a completely and totally fake story? Her defense was, I have boxes of awards. Getting awards does not excuse you from any responsibility when you get caught selling completely and totally fake stories. And the fact that no one in the United States or worldwide media, for that matter, has the inside scoop on this guy that is promoting and profiting from the Grush story, all without evidence. Just somebody told me. We saw what happens when you let Ross Coulthart sell a story based on somebody told me. The story falls apart as completely and totally fake. And I want to challenge Ross Coulthart to address this issue. Are you just going to keep the money that you made selling this completely and totally fake story? At least give the money to charity, like, give it to homeless people or something. That's ill-gotten gains, bro. You can't just keep the money when you took money for a completely and totally 100% provably fake story. He should be ashamed of himself, right? I mean, it is what it is, friends. These people have no ethics. They have no morality, but they'll sit there on their high horse and complain about a journalist factually reporting the truth about Dave Grush and his stay at a mental institution by a judge's order, right? They don't have a moral high ground based on the grifty nature of what it is that they've all been caught doing, which is sell 100% provably fake story. I don't understand how he just keeps the money. I also don't understand how he leaves the video selling that story in a monetized YouTube video up on YouTube. At least take the video down and edit that part out and leave the rest of the bullshit in there. He's not even doing that. He's just going to keep taking money from YouTube in ad revenue for a completely and totally fake story. By the way, all of our videos get demonetized before I even come on screen. But you're allowed to be on YouTube fully monetized selling a completely and totally fake story. And here's another great example of it. Tonight, we gave you a wealth of information about completely and totally fake stories that Ross Coulthart has been caught peddling. In this latest version of this Patchgate story, he took YouTube money, ad revenue, for a completely and totally fake story that he claimed is true. And he's still taking YouTube ad revenue. But meanwhile, as soon as I press go live, my live streams go from monetization on to limited or no ads before I've even said a word. So is the lesson here that if you want to sell completely and totally fake stories on YouTube, you can be completely and totally monetized. But if you're going to do the right thing, the ethical thing, the morally good thing, and tell people the truth about people peddling fake stories, you will get your monetization capped, turned off, limited or no ads. And just to be clear, I always file an appeal, and they usually always turn the ads back on, but it takes them 4 or 5 days, and we do a live show here. So by then, most of the views are gone, meaning we get, it's like trying to run a marathon with 2 broken legs here. We're trying to do the good and moral reporting that I feel somebody should do in this space, but we're getting kneecapped here. We're getting our legs broken, and then hey, go run that marathon with those 2 broken legs. That's why it's so important that we have your support, and I want to thank each and every one of you, because you guys make up for the lack of the ad pennies, right? And by the way, just to be clear, Ross Coulthart already on that YouTube video made somewhere between $500 and $1,000 based on the view count. Depends on the CPM rate that their channel has or whatever, but it's somewhere, or, I think I'm correct in that analysis. And then he also is making money from, speaking fees and he's telling people complete and totally fake stories for the money he's receiving. Great guy. Is he giving those people the money back? Is he going to let the conference organizers of that place that he spoke know that he pushed a completely and totally fake story for the money they paid him? If they paid him, I don't know. I'm assuming most of these guys get paid when they do speaking engagements at UFO events. You know, I'm trying very desperately not to get disgusted about our constantly getting demonetized before I've even said a word. We have eliminated cursing here as much as possible. Somebody suggested I wear a suit and tie. Maybe we'll try that. But most of me thinks that there are some disgruntled crybaby bitches, true believers, that are mass reporting our videos before we've even said a word, and therefore they get demonetized. I don't know what the issue is. We experienced this before for a few months, but then YouTube calmed down and all of our videos were fully monetized for a while. Now we're back to before I've even said a word. I'm telling you, friends, I monitor it. As soon as I press go live, it goes from fully monetized to limited to no ads. And then I have to file the appeal 4 or 5 days later when all the views are gone and done. Then they turn the ads on. It says almost as if there's some kind of psychological operation or perception management operation going on, and somebody has their thumb on the scale trying to slow me down or stop me from this accurate reporting. And by the way, I'm proud of our track record here. You know, some people attack me on Twitter and say all kinds of things. We have an 8+ year track record of getting the story correct, of accurate, factual reporting. Compare that to Ross Coulthart's legacy that we detailed for you tonight. So people can attack me all they want. We have an 8-year track record of getting stories factually correct. We've seen Ross Coulthart's track record of selling completely and totally fake stories. And let's be clear, Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, Leslie Kane, Blumenthal, all the people that are currently promoting and profiting from the Grush story, including News Nation, they get caught selling completely and totally fake stories all the time. Track record matters. And if we view, if we're going to just accept Ross Coulthart with the trust me, dude, there's evidence. This story is true. Trust me. Look what happens when you trust him. He doesn't vet things properly. He doesn't do proper investigative work. He's a garbage peddler. And I don't think that this is all by accident. You know, I don't think it's just him being lazy. I think, in my opinion, there is a purposeful attempt to construct fake stories that have the illusion of being true stories so that they sell. Then again, you over sensationalize, overhype them. Inevitably, you will underdeliver. And then comes the big letdown. And I for one, think we have really reached a crossroads here. And I agree with someone on Twitter who said, these UFO people have backed themselves into a corner. Because if nothing comes from this Grush story ever, that's it. You're done. You're never going to get your so-called disclosure by pushing false narratives and, you know, let's just try to break the doors down of the government with these questionable people with questionable stories and no evidence they can release publicly. It's not gonna work. I don't think it's gonna work. You know, what's gonna happen after this is that the government is gonna say these UFO people are all wackadoos and there's nothing to this. It's all fake because you keep pushing fake stories at the government, thinking that they're going to give you disclosure based on your fake evidence. That's not how this works. It's not how any of this works. You need good smoking gun evidence or proof. Oh, okay. Well, we want to accurately report on that. So it may be the case that Ross Coulthart wasn't paid. A chat person who went to the event said Ross wasn't paid. Seemed like a real fan of our show. I think you're being sarcastic, but okay. Al Garay is here. It says, it's a big club, Steven, and you ain't in it. Yes. Does YouTube have an explanation for the instant demonetization? No. We've reached out and we're not getting any answers. It's almost impossible at our level. If I had 300,000 or 1 million subscribers, I would have a YouTube representative that I could call and ask questions to. At this stage, you're just tossing emails out to the void, hoping somebody gets back to you, and nobody ever does. It's all automated and robots. It's almost impossible to get a person to address an issue like this. But I'm keeping a spreadsheet. Mr. Ian says AI pics of Linda Moulton Howe killing cows with a shovel were hilarious. Yes, that was one of my favorite uses of AI Steve. For those unaware, we have an AI that Mr. Ian and his son named AI Steve, not after me. I think his son just liked the name. I don't know. But AI Steve makes us a lot of content, and we're gearing him up to make even more. In fact, we may have a premiere this weekend of a few things from Mr. Ian. I have to get with Mr. Ian off air to prepare that stuff. Corey Joe says that's absolutely correct. What's absolutely correct? I'm lost. Effing Lucy. Yeah, I always joke about the Charlie Brown Lucy thing. YouTube is designed to break you. Well, it's at least designed to keep you on a never-ending treadmill thinking you're never doing enough for them. The chat person was an actual fan of the show, I mean. Oh, okay. All right. Their terms of service and guidelines are intentionally vague, very vague. Yeah, it's a problem. It's really, really, I'm hoping that our show will grow so much that we could go anywhere and not have to depend so much on certain distribution points. I don't want to say anything negative, lest the AI algorithm gods strike me down where I sit, right? Every day. And it's so funny that our show's fate is really in the hands of AI algorithms. So every day I say a prayer, YouTube AI algorithm gods, please find favor in our show. Rise us in the search engine. Stop turning the ads off on our videos before I've even said one word. In Google's name we pray. Amen. Every day I say a prayer to that AI algorithm to be kind. I'm trying to, get it to like us again. Oh, okay. Corey Joe says, I was talking about your response to the YouTube demonetization issue. Well, that's why I appreciate you Patreon supporters and everything so much. Mr. Ian says, fight AI with AI. Yeah, I guess. One solution to that issue is to upload pre-recorded videos. But for our normal show here, Truthseekers, it's all about the audience interaction. I don't want to lose that. But we will. I keep saying we're going to do it. Every week, I'd like to do 3 videos that are pre-recorded so that the YouTube algorithm can do its thing and say, okay, this is ad friendly before we put it up. We'll see what happens. We're going to try to take some steps to get that revenue back, because essentially the ad revenue was half of the YouTube revenue, and we've just lost it all for the past month, right? Everything goes up, but your paycheck too. If you haven't noticed the cost of things lately, it's getting rough out there, brother. Can you spare $1? It's getting tough out there. Archaic Revival says, why isn't there a YouTube too that doesn't have freedom hangups? Well, there's some alternatives popping up, like Rumble and Odyssey, and now Pill.net. I think could be a real good contender. I think that site Pill.net is great so far. Highly recommend you check it out. Would it help if the audience hammered YouTube with emails? I don't know. I don't really want to sick a bunch of people on YouTube. They might get pissed at me for annoying them. It's like the AI is caught in a negative feedback loop with regard to the show. Could be. We'll see what we can do to get that worked out. Most of the moderation team is run by AI, and it's not like they can afford real people. Yeah. Thank God, because a lot of people don't like to hear truth. Yeah, it would seem so. So, what can I say, friends? We have done our due diligence. We will be doing a couple of premieres this week before the week is out, but this may do it as far as live shows for the week. I said during the summer, we're going to be lightening the live show schedule. So we've been doing about 3 live shows a week. I think that's the sweet spot. You don't want to wear out your welcome, friends. I would do a show every day if I thought that there was demand for it. The other issue is really time. I have my children home with me for the summer break. I've been on house arrest all summer with them. My wife hates when I say that. That's ending in not this week, next week. It ends, the summer vacation. So once the summer vacation and situation with me doing daddy daycare is over with for the summer, I'll have a lot more time, and we'll crank up the live shows per week, I think. But for now, we're really going to try to stick to 3 shows a week. I got to get some cabin time in, and as summer starts to wind to a close, I always try to race and rush, to get every bit of outdoor recreation in that I can. I got some fishing trips I got to get to. I got some hiking I have to do. Maybe even some camping outside of the cabin. We'll see. Take some time to do those things that you enjoy. All work and no play makes for a very dull boy. In my case, right? You got to have balance. We need balance. Definitely need some balance. So what can I say, friends? That's all we got for you. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. We thank our chat room moderators, and we thank Mr. Ian, our announcer, and Spooky and Sixth Sense and B Baker and all you people helping. We're going to go over to the Discord and do a voice chat. So join our Discord server. One of our chat room moderators should kindly let you know how it is that you can join us over there. So that's all we got for you, friends. And in closing, I would really like to say that, to anybody attacking me for telling you the truth, sometimes the truth is ugly, but it's still always worth having, friends. So that's all we got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.